And you already see how it's going to start, unfortunately. He's
Bang, bang! Super Bowl bound. Vegas bound.
all right. Well, now that we have the obnoxiousness out of the way, we can go ahead and move on and actually talk about the game itself. So, first thing on the agenda is going to be the conference wrap-ups for both the games on Sunday. We're going to, unfortunately, start with the Lions at the 49ers. Now, I want you to take me through this real quick. First thing, so two different cultures here. One, the Lions are coming off of their first playoff win since the 1991 season, and it's the first NFC Championship game that they've made to period ever. And on the other side, the Niners are coming into their third straight NFC Championship game, fourth in 5-year span, after facing the Chiefs in Super Bowl 54. 4 years ago, the Niners lost to the Rams in 2021 and the Eagles last season, and it nearly looked like 3 straight losses. Detroit stormed out to a 24-7 lead. Just at that point right there, 24-7. I know I get the text messages and the Snapchat stuff. For the viewers, for a 49ers fan, what is going through your mind when the Lions are up 24-7? What's going through your mind at that point?
Oh, I know we were going to win.
You just knew it was going to happen. Yeah, okay. I was like, bullshit.
You know what the thing was is I was furious because it was like, oh, we haven't played well since the Eagles game. Like we dismantled the Eagles. We haven't played well since then. So I'm like, we had to play nobody down the stretch. We had the bye. We looked awful against the Packers. We've looked awful this first half against the Lions. The Lions aren't a team that you can look awful against because their offense is so good.
And you guys had a similar situation against the Cowboys too earlier in the season. You guys beat the Cowboys, beat the shit out of them, and then you guys like stumbled the next couple of games right after.
Yeah, I mean that obviously the loss of Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams in the game after caused that, but we're healthy. Now I'm going to say it 16 times. It's really the defense is really pissing me off. We're the 26th ranked rush defense in the league right now after Hufanga tore his ACL. That's an important aspect of this. We can't set the edge even though we run the wide 9 defense. Chase Young and Nick Bosa are getting picked off by down blockers, by wide receivers, which is if you're Nick Bosa, if you're Chase Young and they try to use a wide receiver to block down on you, you have to make that wide receiver pay. You have to hurt him for doing that. And then the corners have to fill their roles and you stop the run. Now, we've ran into an Aaron Jones who was one of the best running backs the last month of the season, and we ran into this Montgomery Gibbs thing that they've done really, really well. But the defense is not giving our offense any opportunity to stumble at all. And Brock Purdy, unfortunately, has come out of the gate slow 2 weeks in a row. And I'm just like, our team was historic this year. Brock Purdy was historic with his efficiency and the way he could pass the ball. We're really going to go out like this on a whimper? This is what I'm thinking out at halftime. We're going to go out on a whimper. We're not going to play well the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season. We're not going to give it our best. We're not going to see what this team can do. How is it going to end this way? And then I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Every great coach gets their ass kicked. You know what I mean? Belichick lost. Andy Reid got fired from Philly. Like, it happens. But when you have this team that from week 1, we were Super Bowl contender favorites, it's been anointed. We were Super Bowl contender favorites last year and had that terrible loss in the NFC Championship game. This is how we're going to go out to the Lions, to the poverty franchise Lions. Are you kidding me? Like, they've been saving up for 40 years to go to a playoff game, and their fans are everywhere now because they got all this money because they haven't had to spend it on the playoffs in 117 seasons, and we're going to lose to the Lions. To Jared Goff, we own Jared Goff. Sean McVay sent Jared Goff packing because he couldn't beat us. No, I refuse. And I was going to turn it off. And then I'm thinking to myself as they close out the half, I'm like, I need them to go for it. I need them to go for the touchdown. I need them to miss this touchdown, go for it on 4th. And they kick the field goal. It's 24-7. I'm like, Kyle Shanahan will not call an offense to allow us to get back in this game. He's going to come out and try to run the ball like he always does. He's going to try to run play action. He's not going to put Brock put 4 wide, 5 wide, and let us come back in this game. This is a wrap. That's where I was at halftime. Even if we came out and switched everything around, we were going to need um, terrible decision making. We were going to need turnovers, and we were going to need a shit ton of luck. And you know what? Check one box, check two box, check three box. We got all three, and we're headed to the
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
No, absolutely. And the thing is you can, especially hang your hat on a couple of really frustrating things on the first half. Like, dude, some of those clips of Chase Young in that
He
first half
sucks.
are bad.
He's terrible.
Just
He's terrible.
piss poor, no effort, doesn't give a shit type effort. It's no surprise that he's gonna end up being like perma benched, and no, it's gonna be a really hard time for anyone to sign him coming up this next offseason. I mean, you see it, it's bad. You mentioned it this past week, and I started to pay attention to it during the game, and then the clips started to surface right after the game, and I was like, this is really bad. This is worse than I was expecting bad, because as fans, we can make everything a lot worse, but this is everything you said it was, maybe even a little bit worse on top of that.
Do you remember the clips last year after the NFC Championship game against the Eagles where they showed it was Jason Kelsey throwing Javon Kinlaw all over the place? That's our defensive tackle we took in the first round, and he was getting his booty moved off at every spot.
Yep.
They literally put Kinlaw in at defensive tackle and kicked Eric Armstead out to defensive end. He hasn't played defensive end in like 5 years. He's a great defensive tackle, not great at defensive end. They stuck him out at defensive end because there was nothing left. We were like, you know what? Put Armstead and Bosa on the ends and put these guys in the middle, and at least they'll run up the middle, and maybe the linebackers can come up, because this whole the wide receivers are blocking down, then they're pitching out on us. Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, those are power running backs.
Yeah,
I guarantee you all week this week they're working on that pitch. Block down, pitch out. Block down, pitch out. And they're going to run the ball 700 times on us to try to see if we figured it out or not.
Yeah, no, for sure. So then that's the halftime mentality. Detroit came out in the second half and did not score another point until the final minute. A bunch of things factored into this. Poor tackling was an issue for Detroit's defense. For a few plays, the Niners gained extra yards because the Lions couldn't wrap up their tackles, and the Niners took advantage of it, moving up the chains. And one play turns into another play, which turns into another play, and it just kind of stacks and it rolls and rolls and rolls until it's a giant snowball that you cannot stop. And that's what kind of the second half turned into. And they missed out on a couple sacks as well. Brock Purdy broke away from a few sacks, didn't just escape, but he ran the ball or threw it for a big gain. And that's the thing is, if you lose to Brock throwing, that's fine. But for Brock it almost felt like damn near iced the game on that, what was it, a 30-something yard run or whatever it was. You can't let Brock Purdy run like that on you. That's crazy. You can let Lamar run around on you. You can let Jalen Hurts run around on you. You can't let Brock Purdy go off for a huge gain like that. That's crazy to me. If you want to defeat the Niners, you have to stop them when you get your hands on them. You can't just let them break off. And that's the thing is they have so many players. You guys have so many players that just because you get the hands on them, you can't stop them. Christian McCaffrey,
sneaky, bro.
Debo, you can't stop some of these guys. And Brock, you could throw into that category too.
There was multiple plays. Obviously he had the 3 rushes for like 52 yards or whatever, but there was the play where he was sacked. Like it was over. Like he was wrapped up and sacked. He gets away, throws that pass to Kyle Juszczyk, tiptoes. And then there was another play where he rolls out left. He commits the cardinal sin. He throws across his body on a third down to a off the hands catch that Juwan Jennings made, 3rd and Juwan. So he was his mobility. And I got to tell you, there's a reason. If you look at Jared, I don't have him because I'm not the stat guy. That's you. I don't have him, but Jared Goff was absolutely horrendous when we could pressure him. When Nick Bosa was getting home, his stats in that game were terrible. And guess what? Jared Goff can't move. Brock Purdy can. That's why we won that game, is because at the end of the day, Jared Goff, if he has Brock Purdy's mobility, is probably a top 5 quarterback in the league, but he's not. He's a sitting duck. So what it came down to was one quarterback that could get outside the pocket and make plays, a bunch of drops, the immaculate deflection off of a dude's face mask. And people can say whatever they want, but that was that was more closer to an incomplete than it was an interception. That would have been one of the greatest interceptions of all time. But the concentration it takes to make that catch, a phenomenal play by Brandon Ayuk. And that's why I've always said you throw the ball deep because you can get a completion, you can get a non-completion, you can get a PI.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of stuff you can get when you test the ball deep. So, and then that throw on the very next play, he threads it between two defenders to Brandon Ayuk for the touchdown. That's a nice throw. Like, it's just, I understand it's the Chiefs, but goddamn, if we can play a good game, if the 49ers that beat the Eagles can show up, if the 49ers that beat the Cowboys can show up, I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs scored 17 points. We should be able to put up 30. Should.
Yeah,
Will we?
I don't
know.
I think that, and again, we can go round and round on this again. I don't understand it. I would love to get someone in here that has a bunch of Brock Purdy hate. I don't understand it. You watch him play and he passes every single eye test that you can actually put on there. So not only can you look at the stats, you could look at the advanced statistics too, but then you could just throw on the film and he passes the eye test on the things that he's doing. It's for the team. I don't understand. Like, sure, he's not, I don't think he's, maybe this year, but I don't know. He's not going to be a permanent, in my mind, a permanent tier 1 type quarterback. Tier 1 quarterback, you win because of these guys. He's like in a tier 2 type situation, but he's not tier 3, he's not tier 4, he's not tier 5, he's not any below that tier 2 placement. Brock is who he is, and that's really, really, really good. Some people use that as an insult, but it's not. I don't understand it. I don't understand the hate. It's misplaced, it's wrong, it's misdirected. I get it. The Niners are stacked. They have the Avengers on offense and defense, but I don't get it. Not every quarterback in the history of the NFL is going to have nobody around him. Everybody has a supporting cast one way or another.
Well, what's the discourse behind Tom Brady? How did all these teams miss so many times on this guy? What's the discourse on Tony Romo? How did this guy undrafted Kurt Warner? You know what I mean? It's just, if you admit that Brock Purdy is a baller, you admit that your team screwed up. And I think that's why people want to hate on him. Because if he was the number 3 pick and he was Trey Lance instead of the third string quarterback for the Cowboys, and he was doing all this, people would just be calling him a superstar.
Yeah.
The last pick in the draft took the team to the NFC Championship game last year, and we would have won, but he got hurt. And then he has a surgery that only 2 quarterbacks in the history of the world have had, comes back from that and leads the team to the Super Bowl. If you're hating on that, you're just a hater, and that's all it is. There's a few athletes that do everything right, and there was a clip after the game where Nick Bosa walks up to Brock Purdy and he goes, "Hey man, I don't know if you've ever heard Bosa talk, but he talks like he's a stoner. Hey man, do you ever doubt yourself?" And Brock Purdy's like, "No, not really." And Nick Bosa's like, "I don't know, man. I was the second overall pick, and even I had doubts." And Brock Purdy's like, "No, I could be better." And that's just it. It's the mentality, man.
Yeah,
it's just. And after the game, I don't know if you saw. You probably turned it off or something through your remote at the TV. But Brock Purdy, he celebrates and he pounds his chest. And what does he do next? He runs right to Kyle Shanahan, and they have this hug. And you know what, man? Kyle Shanahan has had 2 awful games in terms of play calling to get the game started. But he's got a quarterback that he trusts. And as I'm sitting on the couch right now, I think there's a parade in San Francisco 2 weeks from now. Now, that's probably going to change 1,000 times in the next 2 weeks. But we should already beat them fools in the Super Bowl once if we had a quarterback that could make a throw. So we'll see.
And as I sit here now in this chair, I say, fuck off. Can we have a weird conversation about Dan Campbell real quick? This is something that's already been mentioned on the podcast before, and I'm
probably not going to agree with you, but we can have it.
Dan Campbell has turned the Lions organization and the culture in the locker room around completely. This team was nothing, horrible.
Oh, you're trying to do him like the Warriors did Mark Jackson. You're trying to have him turn around the culture and replace him now that they got to go to the next level.
he's done a lot of good, and I'm not saying to replace him, because he's, especially since he's a new coach. This is the first time he's come into a head coaching job. Now that he's coaching in the upper echelon of coaches and games and competitions for the playoff spots in the NFC Championship game, and even when he's playing higher level teams, this isn't the first time where you go and you look at the aggressiveness of Dan. This isn't the first time where you look at him and you go, "What are you doing?"
I'm with
I
you.
get it. When the aggressiveness works, you praise it. You love it. You praise it. You want to give him a round of applause and go, "That's amazing." A lot more teams should be aggressive like this. But when it doesn't work, you look and you go, "What are you doing?" Just kick the field goal. Don't go for two a million times against the Cowboys. Don't let Sam Laporta play the last game of the season for no reason when you're going to still have the 3 seed. And there's other examples as well. These are just a couple.
The reason why I hate this discourse, though, not to cut you off, is that everybody keeps saying taking points off the board as if the 3 points, the field goal, was a guarantee. That dude
Yeah,
has
no, absolutely.
not been great in his career, and he's not Justin Tucker. So our discourse, if he had gone for the field goal and missed the field goal, how can you go back on what you've done all season? You've played the same way all season. You've
Yep.
done this all season. Then you went back when it came down to crunch time, when it came to grab your balls and make a decision, you went back on who you are. That's what the conversation would be.
And
And
I understand that as a Cowboys fan, because I yell from the rooftops that Mike McCarthy changed the entire offense once we got into the playoffs. That playoff game was not the Cowboys' offense at all. So I'm going to shout it from the rooftops the exact same thing. I agree with you there, but I think there at least needs to be like a little bit of an eyebrow raise. Be like, you should probably keep an eye on it for the next couple of seasons, because if he continues to make big time coaching like random blunders like this, and you have the roster in place, I don't know if you have to. I don't know what you have to do. I don't say full on move on from the guy. I like Dan Campbell, but I think that he's just because his team got to the NFC Championship game, I'm not going to put him in the upper echelon of coaches. There's a lot of, again, mistakes and blunders that I can't just move past it, and you can
well,
have an awkward conversation.
as we're sitting here today, it's been reported that his OC is coming back, so it's not
Yeah.
that bad.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
I thought that the Eagles should get rid of Sirianni to keep Steichen, and I think if they could go back and do that, they would. And I thought to myself, yesterday when it was announced, I think it was that their OC was coming back. I was like, wow, are they really going to make a move on Dan Campbell? Like, are they bringing this OC back with the conversation with him? Like, hey, if it doesn't work out, you're the guy here.
Hmm.
And obviously, it looks like they're running it back with him. The one thing about Dan Campbell is he is a play caller.
Yeah.
Jared Goff played really well with him as a play caller. He's not just your CEO head coach, but
Yeah.
I'm with you to take a page out of my book. You got a little baby red flag on Dan
Yeah.
Campbell moving forward. The one thing to me that was a little more shocking, I guess, was in the press conference afterwards. He was in tears. And that's
Oh
cool.
yeah.
That's cool. But his comment about how he told his team, like, this is it, because
Yeah. This was our shot.
we may not make it back here.
Yeah.
That was like really interesting to me. I'm like, wait a minute, your team's hella young, man. I know I said that I wouldn't extend Jared Goff a couple weeks ago, and some guy made a comment like, "Oh, he's only you act like he's 37, he's still young." I get it. I don't see the Lions going anywhere, and for him to, I mean, I know the NFC, you got the Eagles, and you got uh, the Cowboys, and you got a lot of pretty talented teams. You don't have the
Yeah.
quarterbacks that the AFC does, but I was just like, that's a super weird thing to say, especially if you want to fire up your
Especially
team.
for him.
If you want to fire up your team going in the fourth quarter, guys, we got to get to the Super Bowl this year. This is our shot. But to say it after the game, like, yeah, you know what? We had a hell of a year. We probably won't be back here next year, and now I'm going to cry. I was like, that's weird, bro. That's really off topic for you, or off brand, I guess.
Absolutely off brand. I mean, this is the same guy who said, we're going to bite off kneecaps coming in, and he's the guy who's constantly fired up. He's the guy that you see in the post game, the locker room clips of him firing up his team regardless, and he's that guy. That's why I feel like sometimes he gets pegged as a player's coach. Some people don't realize he's a play caller too. But the point is, for him to all of a sudden get completely almost like disassociated with the game and the coaching and just completely set himself back and be like, this is it. This was our shot. Again, like you said, I don't see the Lions going anywhere. We're going to take a look at the Lions offseason outlook right after we talk about the next conference game. But we're going to dive deep on every single one of the teams off seasons, what they should do, biggest free agents they should sign, re-sign, that sort of stuff, and the Lions are going to come up. But I don't see us looking at the Lions and going, that may have been their season. They have a lot of free agents, and the guys who are there, it's you're not going to be able to bring them back. And sorry, this is it. I don't see that. And it'll be interesting to see what comes of that and what the reasons were, because there's always something that comes out.
Did you see their safety waving goodbye to the 49ers fans at halftime?
Yeah.
And the blindside block he laid on Debo. I know they got their history, but I'm just like, bro, that's a terrible look. Like, how do you like?
Yep.
I remember there was a game last year, I think Sean McVay, they went up like 10 or 13 points on the 49ers, and Sean McVay ran down into the end zone and was celebrating in the end zone with his players after they scored a touchdown. And then we came back and kicked their ass, and they made fun of them for a couple weeks for it. But at halftime, bro, like, you're the Detroit Lions. Like, I guarantee you, if we pulled up a panel of Lions fans, and not Lions fans from this year, but guys that have been Lions fans for 30 years, hey, you guys are going to be up 24-7 at the half, dominating the 49ers. How shocked are you that you lost the game? They'd be like, no, that's Detroit Lions football. I mean, how are you going to – I did enjoy the pictures of my guy, Marshall Mathers, at Levi Stadium flipping all the 49ers fans off.
I saw that.
That was pretty fun. And I know the NFL's disappointed they don't get Eminem versus Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl, but I guess we'll just have to bring E40 or something.
Oh, man. All right, let's move on to the other side of the conference games. The AFC, we had the Ravens and the Chiefs playing each other in Baltimore. Battle of the good defenses, great defenses, top 5, top 3 defenses. And even though that was the case, each team got off to a pretty hot start. And I thought from the opening drives, I thought we were about to have a crazy game. I was like, this is going to be a classic, bro. This is going to be awesome. And then they kind of settled in. They settled in, and there was glimpses of Lamar Jackson's heroics. But Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, which congratulations, breaking Jerry Rice's record for most postseason receptions. And then the Chiefs they largely just controlled the first 30 minutes, and then taking a 17-3 lead into halftime, and ended up being 17-10. Obviously, was the final score, but the Ravens couldn't get it rolling. Lamar Jackson, again, you saw the glimpses, but you just didn't see it in full. I have something floating in my camera. They couldn't recover from the first half deficit, and it wasn't really a deficit. It was just 10 points, so calling it a deficit probably isn't correct there. But you got to give props to the Kansas City defense here. I mean, this is a really, really good defense, and that's why I'm a little excited for the Super Bowl, because the defenses are going to show out. That doesn't make for great casual football, but when you watch it from an actual football fan's perspective, great defenses, good games. But this defense deserves a ton of credit here, forcing multiple turnovers, namely Zay Flowers diving in for the end zone and fumbling it. L'Jarius Sneed, shout out to him, because dude has had a shutout season, 59.1 passer rating allowed when targeted during the regular season, locked up number ones all season, and then he goes and makes Zay Flowers fumble right there at the 1, and it ended up being a touchback. So, which I know you have some gripes about, you don't dive for the end zone, that sort of thing, but I thought this was going to be a like a shootout type game, and I thought it was going to be super duper exciting, but then again, defenses settled in and they came to play. We're going to have a discussion about Lamar Jackson, but what's your thoughts about this game in total?
I questioned from the jump what the Ravens were doing. I don't know. I would have came out and pounded the rock. I'd have run the shit out of the ball. I don't know why they tried to turn it into a shootout with Lamar. That's not his strength. He played really well this year. Obviously MVP. Mostly
made
because
great
of
strides in the passer.
Yeah, down season for the players that throw the ball in this season, which is why Lamar's getting that MVP. I mean, let's be honest. Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant, and he's that second tier, third tier QB. He was a MVP favorite at one point. Dak Prescott was an MVP favorite at one point. Not a great year for quarterbacks, but Lamar's going to win the MVP. But they just came out with a weird game plan, and maybe they just felt like they couldn't run the ball at all against the Chiefs, but to just abandon it from the jump. Obviously, him fumbling into the end zone. I hate the play. I hate the rule, to be honest with you. I hate that touchback rule, but we won't even get into that. they do not teach, you are not taught to dive for the end zone like that. If
Right.
it's fourth down and if it's everything, but when it's first down or it's about to be a first down and you're the Ravens, you have Lamar Jackson, you have 4 more plays or 3 more plays from the 1 yard line, dude, come on, bro, you don't need to be a hero.
Yeah.
And I think that you just saw with the Chiefs and the 49ers, veteran teams, players that have been there before. And the other 2 teams you saw really relied on rookies, and
Yeah.
it did them in.
Yeah.
Ravens defense did great. They held the Chiefs to 17 points. Chiefs defense obviously played really well, but I just questioned the play calling. I felt like they should have came out and really ran the ball. And the thing is playoffs are different, man. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different situation, and you just have to leave it all on the line. And I would, if I could have a private conversation with Lamar Jackson, not that I'd ever be able to do it, I would just ask him. I'm like, that game plan was that giving it everything you had? I know he threw that pick into triple coverage in the end zone, but the tight end raised his hand. He said, "I'm open. Throw me the ball." So that's on both players. If you trust your player, you know what I mean. You make the throw. Obviously wasn't a smart throw, but the tight end said he was open. You got to give the dude a chance to make a play, and obviously we saw the way that turned out. So, do you know that Patrick Mahomes sack, fumble, or interception 2.1% of the time he gets sacked, he fumbles, or he throws an interception, and the league average is like 10, 9 points something. Like it's not even just like, oh, he's the greatest quarterback, greatest talent we've ever seen. It's just like the dude. Like, I would feel pretty comfortable putting like $1,500 on a prop bet for the Super Bowl that Mahomes will not throw a pick, because he just doesn't. He's had a full season of playoff games, and yes, shout out to Travis Kelce. We talked a lot about Patrick Mahomes' performance in the playoffs. We didn't mention Travis Kelce this week, but shout out to him.
Yeah, for sure.
They asked Jerry Rice about it, and he was like, "Yeah, that's cool. I got a bunch of records." Patrick Mahomes got like 7 interceptions in the playoffs. He's played 17 playoff games. Now he's got 7 interceptions. And this isn't the regular season where you play a bunch of bums. You don't get to play the Washington Commanders, the New York Giants twice a year in the playoffs. You're playing the best teams for 17 games, and he's only thrown 7 picks. And I bet if we pulled up the film and watched all 7, 4 or 5 of them bounced off of someone's hands or were tipped at the line. So
I think that because the Darth Vader stormtroopers have shifted from the Patriots to the Chiefs, all the hate is now directed towards them. People hate success at the end of the day. They despise success. I mean, all you see, there's only a couple of things that you see when it comes to NFL right now. One is Taylor Swift posts, and then 2 is on the other side when it comes to fans saying, Niners, please save us. Brock Purdy, please save us from another Chiefs victory, and then I'm sitting in the middle and I say, please, for the love of God, please, I'm begging you, don't let the Niners win, please. And that's me. And plus, I like the legacy stuff for Patrick Mahomes. I have no problem with it. The thing is I didn't watch all of Tom Brady. I didn't get to witness all of it. I didn't even watch football really when it was Randy Moss and Tom Brady. I remember Randy Moss on the Niners more than I remember them with the Patriots. I mean, that's when I grew up. That's when I was watching it. So me being able to actually witness greatness like this, a level of greatness not seen many times in sports, and the fact that it happens back to back, Tom Brady right into Patrick Mahomes, is phenomenal and great work by the football gods. It's great to see, and I like the legacy part of it, and I want him to continue to win. If it's not my team who's going to win, which it never does, but if it's not my team who's going to win, I'm gonna root for who has the best legacy going into this. That's what I'm going to root for.
I definitely prefer that it's the Chiefs and not the Ravens, because I feel like in 10 years, if we look back and say, man, the Niners of the 2020, 2019, 2020, 2021, those Niners, man, they were world beaters. How do they not have a Super Bowl? It's like, well, they lost to Mahomes and Andy Reid twice. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. I think the thing about Andy Reid, man, is he's fat. He loves McDonald's. He's a true-blooded American. He left the field and he went and got McDonald's. Like, everybody loves that, whether they want to admit it or not. And I think it's funny when Mahomes, because he's he has his little run that he does, and he's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
weirdo, and he looks like a crybaby sometimes when he's complaining about the calls, but he just, I think that it's it's so hard to play quarterback in the NFL, to watch somebody do it at the highest level year in and year out.
Yep.
And they got to lose eventually, don't you think? I mean, he lost to Tom Brady
Sure.
his first year. They lost to
Yep.
Tom Brady again in the Super Bowl, and then he's lost to Joe Burrow. And besides that, that's it.
Yep.
Now, with Mahomes' legacy, we're going to talk about Brady twice, Burrow once, and Brock Purdy. It's a story in itself. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens. I mean, the
We had this
49ers.
we had this conversation earlier in the playoffs, though, that this playoff run means the least to one person, and it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It means the least to them. But then
Mhm.
now that they're in the Super Bowl, it's like, damn, now I want it more than ever. Now, something I do want to mention real quick about Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce's been making comments about how he wants this more than any other Super Bowl, and he wants it really, really, really bad. I would find it incredibly interesting if he won the Super Bowl and retired, and Jason announced his retirement right after. It wouldn't surprise me,
I
and I
think
would
he's
keep
close.
a lookout on it. He's mentioned it, and there's been whispers of it. And then since Jason has talked about retiring, Travis has talked about retiring at the same time, and all his comments being like, "I've never wanted it more. This is it. Like, I want this so bad." We don't hear that out of Travis. It's interesting, and I think it's something to keep an eye on. Once that confetti falls, whether it's red and gold or red and white, we're going to see someone's retirement, I think, at the end of it.
I mean, yeah. Is it going to be Travis Kelce retiring with the Super Bowl trophy, or is it going to be Trent Williams
Trent
retiring with
Williams,
the
yep.
Super Bowl trophy? There's
Yep.
definitely options. The tight end is not a. I mean, we saw it with Gronkowski. Like, he just broke down as he
Yeah,
got older. It's
absolutely.
a tough position when you're expected to work over the middle and block and everything. And even watching George Kittle, I looked up and he had 1,000-yard season. It was pretty surprising. It's just
Yeah,
he's slowed down over the years, and Eric Armstead is he's getting up there and not playing as well. It's just there's for the Chiefs. I think as long as you have Mahomes, your championship windows are
yeah,
always open. But they have to retool in the offseason. The 49ers are going to have to retool in the offseason because their offensive line is
absolutely.
terrible. Their defensive line is paid a lot of money, and they're not playing well. So I think it's a big legacy game. It's a legacy game for Kyle. It's a legacy game for a lot of people because there's a lot of veterans that have been really good in this league for a while, and this may be their last chance at this. Although if you told me the Chiefs won and then they went out and added Mike Evans and a rookie and then they were back there next year, who's going to be surprised?
Yeah.
So
You speak about legacy, and I want to talk about the man who lost, Lamar Jackson. I want to talk about his legacy and where he stands today. If you look at it from the perspective of Lamar Jackson was 2 wins away from football immortality. 2 wins away. AFC Championship, Super Bowl. 2 wins away, 2 games away from football immortality. Okay. He is most likely 2-time MVP. He's a 1-time MVP, most likely 2-time MVP. So maddening to him to take this defeat, spiking his helmet out of anger after throwing a pick to Deion Bush, one of his late passes. Super frustrating for him. He remains on the verge of becoming only the 6th quarterback in NFL history to win MVP honors twice in his first 6 seasons as a starter. The 5 others, Patrick Mahomes, Steve Young, Brett Favre, Johnny Unitas, and Kurt Warner, pretty elite company. But all of those people won championships. They won Super Bowls in those 6-year spans. Lamar Jackson will remain the only one who has not. His record in the playoffs is 2-4. Now, somebody who also had a very similar record in the playoffs at this point was Peyton Manning, who's also 2-4. So some people have been pointing at that a little bit. The
well,
situations
who did
are
Peyton
a
Manning
little
keep
bit,
running into?
Mr. Tom Brady. Now, the differences though is Peyton Manning, his defense ranked. The scoring defense ranked 29th over his first 6 seasons, while Lamar Jackson's is ranked 2nd since he became the starter in Week 10 of the 2018 season. So on average, 2. while Manning's was 29th. Top 5 defense kind of magnifies the missed opportunity. The challenge will get tougher for Baltimore, especially since their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, as of today, is out, right? He just got hired with Seattle. Not expected. When I was typing this up, this says if he leaves for a head coaching job, he left for a head coaching job literally the next day after I typed this up. So, and then on top of that, so if we're talking about Peyton Manning, Lamar Jackson, Peyton Manning carried a huge contract into the league as the first player chosen in the 1998 draft, which predated the rookie wage scale. Lamar Jackson costs a very small fraction of that, but now he is his cap carries between 32.4 million and 74.7 million over the next 4 seasons. It's going to hinder a lot of efforts to re-sign players. They have some free agency guys that we're going to talk about here in a minute. A lot of free agency guys. It's not just 1 or 2 or a little bit here and there. We're talking about big time players on their team with not a whole lot of cap space to work with. This part here is kind of frustrating typing this all out because I like Lamar Jackson. I'm a Lamar Jackson supporter. This hurt,
you might say.
This hurt his legacy so much. We talked about who it meant the least to on one side, and that's Patrick Mahomes. This playoff run meant the least to him on this side. It meant the most to Lamar Jackson. Complete polar opposites. And the guy who it meant the least to came out with the victory. And the guy over here is being stared at, being like, you're getting this massive contract. You're a 2-time MVP. You're not a Super Bowl winner, though. Where do we go from here? And your defense is really, 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 really good. Where do we go from here? Obviously, there's not much you could do. This is Lamar Jackson. You signed him up. You secured the contract. We talked about tiers of quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson's probably a tier 2 quarterback. You don't win because of Lamar Jackson, but he's like king of tier 2. He's going to put you in the situation to win, but you're not going to win because of Lamar Jackson. There's only a couple of tier 1 guys. Patrick Mahomes is one of the tier 1 guys. You win because of him. That's in my mind. Joe Burrow, in my mind, is actually a tier 1 guy as well. You win because of Joe Burrow. You look at the talent he had when they made that Super Bowl run. A lot of that wins came off of Joe Burrow's back. Yes, talented roster, but not as talented as some of Lamar Jackson's counterpieces on defense. This hurts him big time. And it's frustrating, again, as a Lamar Jackson fan. It sucked to type this out. It was really, really, really difficult. I'll say that much. Where does Lamar Jackson's legacy kind of sit today? What do you think about it? Where's he go in the future seasons?
So I have thoughts on Lamar. But you know what's funny is I was like going over my head what I was going to say, and then you completely hijacked me by bringing up the rookie scale contract, Peyton Manning, and the contract he signed. And I was just thinking to myself how rich Sam Bradford is and how completely useless as an NFL quarterback he was. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder what Sam Bradford is doing right now. He lives in probably Arizona on a golf course or something really, really nice. And the thing about it is MVP is a individual award and a Super Bowl is a team award. I
Absolutely.
think. So it doesn't surprise me that players have MVPs and they don't have Super Bowls. I think that when you look at Lamar and his inability to win playoff games, I just think it really comes down to some players have it and some players don't. And some players act really, really tight. You know, after the Chiefs won that game, there wasn't much of a celebration that went on. It didn't seem like it almost like Patrick Mahomes, like, the fuck? You thought I was going to lose to Lamar Jackson? Like, are you seriously crazy? and hey, listen, this is why we do this podcast, so we can get this proof in the pudding. I said the Chiefs were going to win, and you thought Lamar was going to win. And Patrick Mahomes, like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, I'm Patrick Mahomes. I'm not losing to Lamar. I'm not losing to Josh Allen. I'm gonna not have a great regular season
game too.
And then you can find me in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I'll be waiting, and we'll see what happens there. And the only people that can beat me are the GOAT and a Bengals team where I had 2 guys off the couch playing left and right tackle for me, and that's why I lost that game. So for his legacy, he's still very young, and he's locked up. and you only need one Super Bowl, man. Like Mike McCarthy, Super Bowl ring. John Harbaugh, Super Bowl ring. Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers, Super Bowl ring. These dudes all have Super Bowls. Jim Harbaugh, he just said there's no Lombardi trophy in college football. That's why
Yep.
he's back, because he wants the Super Bowl ring. You only need one.
Yep.
Like Trent Williams, all pro, Hall of Famer, one of the best tackles to ever play the game. It doesn't mean as much if you don't have a ring, but you only need one. And
Absolutely.
Lamar has a big um he still has a lot of years in front of him, but it's important to his personal legacy to try to win a Super Bowl at some point. Obviously, try. I'm sure he tries. But
Yeah.
I just question whether or not his style of play can be the catalyst to winning a Super Bowl, because so often it comes down to you got to go all the way down the field. I mean, Brock Purdy, the come behind victory against the Packers, he led them down the field, and then we scored 24 points unanswered last week by and it's kind of funny because he won. He did that a lot with his feet, but when crunch time comes and push comes to shove, there's just throws you have to be able to make. There's plays you have to be able to make, and I have no doubt if the Chiefs were the ones that were down 17-3 or 17-10, Lamar could have played his game and played his style, and they could have won that game. But if you and me had done this podcast last week, and I'd said to you, "Hey, Jacob, Chiefs going to score 17 points. What do you think?" I think everybody would have taken the Rams. You're going to hold the Chiefs to 17 points, and you're not going to win that game.
Yeah.
That's that's hard.
Yeah.
And how do you get better? How do you retool and come back next year? You're losing one of your star inside linebackers
Yep.
because you didn't offer him his 5th-year option, and you have a bunch of other free agents. You got Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad bashing you on social media, so he's probably not going to be back. Not that we give a crap about him or his dad, but
No.
you got to retool, and you got to try to figure out a way to come back and do something different, because what you've done the last couple of years hasn't worked, obviously.
Yeah, so you have Odell, Jadeveon Clowney, who had a fantastic season,
Great year.
Ronald Darby, J.K. Dobbins, who can never stay healthy, Devin Duvernay, Gus Edwards, Justin Matabuke, Patrick Queen, who is going to get paid, John
Super paid.
Simpson, Geno Stone, who I believe led their team in interceptions, Kyle Van Noy, and Kevin Zeitler. So they have 2 of their starting guards are going to be free agents. Again, leading interception guy, their safety, and Geno Stone, their stud inside linebacker, couple of defensive ends who are going to end up being free agents. Only $13 million in cap space. Now, there is a couple of options here to free up a little bit of cap. Marcus Williams is going to be on that cut line. I think you could save about $7 million, and the guy who usually plays behind him is Geno Stone, who's going to be a free agent. So, and I think you can, because he didn't play as much, I think you might be able to get a little bit less contract out of Geno than with Marcus. Mark Andrews saves $11 million. Mark Andrews is one of the best tight ends in the league. I'm a big Isaiah Likely guy. Do you move off of Mark Andrews? You could save $11 million by moving off of him, and you
Well, and
still
what
have
can
a
you
stud
get in
at tight
return
end.
for him? It's not just saving money. It's what
Yeah.
can you get for him?
Yeah, no,
I,
absolutely.
I mean, if you can move Mark Andrews to free up the money to bring back Queen, I don't know if that'll be enough money. If there's a team I have in particular, I think Jerry Jones needs to get his checkbook out and walk up to Queen and say, "Here, write your number on it. Come play linebacker for us," and that would solve a lot of your guys' problems. But if you can move off that defense was so good this year, man. I watched it, and a lot of those picks that Brock threw against them, I didn't think were like really, normal picks,
Yeah.
but they smashed us. Like they smashed us, and now they're sitting on the couch. Like me, like you, they're sitting on the couch. So
Yep.
I don't know. Roquan's getting a little bit older. Mark Andrews blew out his ankle this year, and you got a backup right behind him that's really, really good. I
Yeah.
don't know. You move off of Mark Andrews to keep Queen or to retool. I mean, I think honestly, Zay Flowers is cool. I like him, but they need another guy. Like they need
Yeah.
another, big time threat. Whether it's a wide receiver or a big time running back threat, whatever it's going to be, they need another weapon. So,
and it seems like they want a running back threat. I mean, for how much stock they've put into the running back position, it seems like they want that running back threat with Lamar Jackson, and it just hasn't happened. They have 8 picks in the NFL draft, and 30th being the first, so they start off at 30th overall. I've seen a couple of guys linked to him.
that seems like Blake Corum territory to me.
What's his name? I don't know if this is really 30th overall range. I think this guy could probably go later, but I think is it Jackson Polk?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what his name is? So a lot of people say like that's a Raven through and through. That's a guy who can go there. You need a guy who's bigger bodied at the end of the day. You have all these small guys. Even Rashad Bateman's like 6 foot. He's not big, even though I've always thought of Rashad Bateman as a bigger wide receiver, and plus the guy's just not that good.
You
But
imagine Lamar Jackson with Jameer Gibbs? Or Lamar Jackson with Christian McCaffrey, or Lamar Jackson with Bijan Robinson, or whatever the case may be, like a certified stud at the running back position. That just how would you even defend that? Like that's really, I think, their lack to find a strong contributor at the run game has hurt them. And I think it was last season, the year before, they dug out the corpse of Mark Ingram towards the end of the season because they had so many injuries, but. They need an offensive weapon for sure.
Yep. Yeah, no. And then looking at the other side, going back to the NFC, I want to take a look at the Lions offseason outlook. They have a couple of free agents, namely the guy who waved bye-bye to the Niners fans. CJ. He's going to be a free agent. Your guard, Graham Glasgow, is going to be free agent.
Bye, Felicia.
Jonah Jackson's going to be free agent. Your backup guard, Vaitai, the guy who's a super long name, Halapu V Vaitai, that guy.
I give you credit for trying.
Yes, credit. You have Emmanuel Mosley, who's going to be a free agent, and Josh Reynolds is also going to be a free agent who had a sneaky good season. Good news is you have $58 million in cap space.
Yeah.
Nice. Other good news is you can cut a guy like Tracy Walker, who saves another $8 million. Great. You also have 7 picks in the NFL draft, with the first one starting at pick 29. So the start pick number 29, and I'm kind of where do you think will the Lions pick up at 29? What are they really going for here?
Do you have are those just notes that are open in front of you?
Way at the.
Mm-hmm. I know we're gonna have to figure out a better way to do this as we get into the offseason stuff. But do you have their salary cap in front of you, or did you just have notes?
I just have notes
because they're gonna give.
I had the cap space.
They're gonna give Jared Goff an extension this offseason, which is gonna lower his cap hit. I think his cap hit is like 25 or 28 million next year, so that cap space might even go up. Yeah, I'm not even close enough to my computer to see, but yeah, that's the Detroit
extend.
I didn't tell you about this, and I apologize, but I did a quick little mock draft already, just because I was curious. So I want to see what I did with the Detroit Lions.
So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in. See if that can.
Ooh,
yeah. I don't think I'm using corner. Who'd you go?
Lassiter. Kamari
Lassiter. This makes for riveting content. I do appreciate it.
I apologize to all the viewers, but you know what the thing is?
Yeah, this mock draft has a corner going there too. No.
Who are you looking at?
Rakestraw from Missouri. I see him going there right now. A corner at the end of the day is what it kind of looks like. And if I just use PFF's handy dandy mock draft simulator and I just click, I'm just going to select enter draft, and I'm going to simulate the whole thing. I'm curious on who it gives. So the mock draft simulator for PFF automatically gives them a tackle, gives them Taylor Guyton, which Taylor Guyton that high, from what I've heard, feels a little high. So yeah, I think that once we get into more of the draft stuff coming up in the offseason, literally week after the Super Bowl, we're hitting free agency, we're hitting the draft. We're hitting everything important. So I'm super stoked about that. So once we get into that portion of it, we'll get all the offseason notes in front of us a little bit more in depth. How I want to take it for the offseason, this is the first time I'm telling you too, and the viewers, is division by division. I want to take an episode. It'll be a whole division. Like, okay, we're going to take the NFC East, and here's how we're not fixing them, but playing GM for the NFC East. And this is how we're going to do it. And we're going to tool it all the way down. And how we're going to finish off every single one. Every episode is we're going to go 3-round mock draft for all 4 of those teams. And we're going to just draft it. So I think that's what we'll end up doing. Plus, we'll do mock drafts and all that other stuff.
If we make it to the offseason, for all our viewers out there, I don't know if you can hear it, but we got atmospheric rivers and pineapple expresses, and it's 70-mile-an-hour winds outside. So I don't know if it's if I'm hearing it from your side or if there's stuff going crazy outside my window, but it's popping off out there. So
I don't hear it.
Oh, it must be me.
It might be. No, I don't hear it on my end, so that's good.
I think to wrap that up, I think the Lions are going to be a destination this offseason. I mean, who doesn't want to play for Dan Campbell? They got the money.
Yep.
I don't know that they're super young all over the place. So I just,
yep.
It's funny. Dan Campbell acts like they ain't never making it back, but I got my eye on them. I'm a lot more worried about them than I am of the Eagles next year. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, I definitely would be too. I'm in that same boat. So now moving on to some smaller news that maybe the average viewer hasn't heard of coming up here. So first thing I want to hit, Patriots, this is a big surprise, are unlikely to exercise the 5th-year option on Mac Jones' contract this offseason. What I want to talk about is going into this offseason, what are the options at quarterback for the Patriots? I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7. You all right?
It's crazy how much sound this microphone picks up. It sounds like it's a hurricane out there, and then I take my headset off, and it's just like a little bit out there.
I have 7 quarterbacks for the Patriots to potentially pick up. So, 1, I have Justin Fields as a potential trade candidate. Baker Mayfield, if he doesn't sign with Tampa. You have like the lower tier guys and Ryan Tannehill. Then you have guys like Kirk Cousins in the offseason as well, the free agents period. And then you have 3 quarterbacks who have the potential to be drafted by New England, either with the 3rd overall pick or moving back and then drafting a quarterback anyways. Jaden Daniels is the favorite right now to go 3rd overall to the New England Patriots. And then the other 2 quarterbacks who have the potential to, if the Patriots move back and do Patriot things, move back, and then they had taken a quarterback anyways, Bo Nix and Michael Penix are going to be the other guys who are going to be strong contenders for that team. Now, looking at it, I think the obvious one is Jaden Daniels, since he is the favorite to be drafted 3rd overall, is the easiest one to point at and go, that's the one right there. Gerard Mayo made some interesting comments in his press conference, basically saying, like, we know who we're drafting. We're drafting a really, really, really talented player. And he almost smirked like he knew who it was very specifically. Now, on one hand, you could say, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a really, really, really talented player. Or is it just he's kind of blowing smoke and he's just doing what he wants? And how highly do NFL executives actually think of Jaden Daniels? Because I feel like we do the same song and dance for like 2 years now, where we'll have these quarterbacks and all this hype going around them, and then all of a sudden you got a guy like Will Levis who's supposed to go top 12 at the latest to like the Titans, and all of a sudden they drop all the way down to the 2nd pick in the 1st round, 2nd pick in the 2nd round, if I remember correctly, and get selected by the Titans anyways. So I feel like there's obviously this huge hype up. How high do the NFL execs actually see Jaden Daniels is the big question for me here.
I'll tell you one thing. Where they're taking and all that stuff will obviously change where these players are taken. But my initial draft rankings that I'm going to lock in here probably a week or 2 after the Super Bowl, I'm not changing those. I'm leaving them. I'm not updating them based off of any more information. I'm tired of doing this to myself every year where the Senior Bowl and all this other crap, and I start reading Elon's app, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to do all this. No, I'm not doing that this year. I'm not going to listen to Rich Eisen tell me that Michael Penix might go undrafted. I will not do it. I do love the idea of the Patriots trading back to like pick 10 or 12 and picking up some more picks and taking Bo Nix. Jaden doesn't seem like a very Patriots pick, but you know what? The guy that was there for 20 years ain't there no more. So who
Yeah.
knows what a Patriots quarterback looks like?
That's what I was gonna say. It's kind of hard to gauge on what a guy looks like, right? Or an organization that's about to make massive changes. You know, it's in the midst of making massive changes right now in terms of culture and people, and
I know it
we
ain't
don't know
Mac
what this team's
Jones.
gonna look like. It's not Mac Jones. It's not Bailey Zappi going into the starters next season. Who you have Bo Nix or do you have Michael Penix as that next quarterback in terms of? I'm assuming you go Caleb Drake. Is it Bo Nix, Michael Penix? Who's next for you?
That's a great question. And my computer is telling me I need to plug in my laptop. So I'm going to give you great content in 10 seconds here.
Okay. I'm counting on it.
Amateur hour, I tell you.
Well, for all the viewers out there, I just want to let you guys know that I have Bo Nix in front of Michael Penix.
Did you fill in the silence or did you just stay silent?
I filled in the silence.
What'd you say?
The viewers already know who I have ahead of who, so I was letting them know.
All right. You asked me if I have Michael Penix or
Bo Nix. So who's that next guy? Who's that third guy? Or is it someone else going up to that third spot?
I think it's Michael Penix. I think there's really good reasons to drop him. His health and all these things, but he played really well at the highest level. And I'm really beginning to believe a lot more in these quarterbacks that have played a lot of time, thrown a lot of footballs. And I just, from what I watched Penix do, watched a ton of them. That's my pick. But I'm guessing you went the other way.
I went the other way. I mean, honest to God, like you could flip either one of these one way or the other to me. I like Michael Penix. I think that he has the second best ball placement in this draft, right behind Drake May. I think where he could place the ball almost anywhere on the field is incredibly impressive. I just liked Bo Nix's his dropbacks, his footwork, his pocket presence. The biggest thing I saw with Bo Nix is he got this weird little. He wouldn't step into his throws. It's like he's just twisting his body and just throwing it as fast as he could. And it's not like he lost power or he got too much power. He lost accuracy completely when he would do stuff like that. And I watched like 3 games of his, and I saw in every single game, it was only like 2 throws per game, but he would randomly feel like he'd get pressured, and then he would just throw it. And you go, dude, what are you doing? Like you had the time to step into that.
Yep.
And something I did see that was a pattern for when he did it is he was throwing to the right side when he was doing it. It's like he wasn't comfortable turning and then stepping into it. Like he didn't have the time for it. And so he kind of just like almost sidearmed, like flung it, and it didn't go well. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but I like Bo Nix. I like Michael Penix. I like both of them. Again, you can flip either one of them. I'll probably go back and watch film on both right back to back in the same day and make a final decision on who I put above where and where I find the major issues on either one. But I like both of them. Honestly, I think the drop off starts after that. I think tier 1 is the top 2 guys, tier 2 is the next 2 guys, and then tier 3 is the next guys after that. That's kind of where I place it. I mean, if you want to place Jaden Daniels in the tier 2 for potential alone, sure. But I don't want to hear Lamar Jackson comparisons. He looks awkward when you run. I don't know if you ever seen the videos on TikTok where you take, you're watching this video horizontally right now. And if you compressed it really small, you would see me like this, right? Have you ever seen the videos on TikTok where they compress like football plays really, really small? So the players are really tall on your screen and so they look like they're literally running in place. So that's where the drop is. Seeking $90 million guaranteed over 2 years to re-sign with the Vikings. A couple of things. He will be 36 years old, so a 2-year contract seems pretty reasonable. $90 million, so obviously that's $45 million a year. If he doesn't sign with the Vikings, who are your top contenders for him to go to? If it's not the Vikings, if Vikings aren't going to give him that money and they want to move on from him, who are a couple of the top guys that you can see him going to?
The Bucks.
Yep.
The Saints.
Okay.
The Patriots. I think if the Patriots draft Jaden Daniels, Kirk makes a lot of sense on a 2-year deal. The Raiders are kind of like my love idea, but they're paying a lot of money to quarterbacks right now.
Can I throw something wild out there?
As long as you don't say the Seahawks, I'm cool.
No. So if he would want to go to a team that's ready to win, like right now, and has a lot of the roster to win right now, but you might have a little bit of question about the quarterback.
Don't say the Falcons either.
No, you don't have a little bit of question with the quarterback there. Would it be that insane to see, like, again, you're basically trying to go all in for this at this point. I'm gonna throw the Dolphins out there, and I know it's really crazy, but a team that's ready to win within the next 2 years, you might have a little bit of questions about the quarterback. You could potentially see a landing spot in that area too.
Yeah,
I mean, because the thing is something's going to get blown up here eventually, right? I mean, Tyreek Hill's already kind of come out and said a little bit that he was playing with the idea of retiring, and now he's saying that he's going to play out the rest of his contract, and then he's going to be done. Now the thing is about the rest of his contract, I'm pretty sure this last year takes up like $50-something million in cap space or something, something stupid. So I'm interested to see where that goes. So if Tyreek Hill's done at that point, and if you want to go all in because Tyreek and Kirk Cousins are going to be your ride to the Super Bowl, I don't see why not. But are you really going to blow it all up and not have a future at the quarterback spot?
Kirk has had a little bit of the suspicious play and weather, though.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's your big thing with Tua is you don't think he can win in the AFC playoffs, I'm not sure if Kirk is the answer.
Yeah, no, for sure. I see that. I don't know if I see him going back to the Vikings either.
I would honestly, in my opinion, I would put that at less than 0.
Yeah,
because they were blowing that team up last year. They're trying to trade away Danielle Hunter, and who knows what they do this offseason with their star wide receiver.
Yeah,
I think we know what they're going to do with him because that's what they do with all their star wide receivers. But I don't see him going back to the Vikings. I don't think that makes much sense to me.
Yeah. Speaking of the wide receivers, a couple of wide receiver contract things I want to talk about. Brandon Ayuk.
We have to sign him no matter what. Mike quickly.
Evans, and where's my last guy? Calvin Ridley. So I'll talk about those guys here. So Brandon Ayuk's first. He's expected to ink a new contract with the 49ers that are supposed to be in the range around $20 million a year for 4 to 5 years is roughly where you're looking at. Now, as a 49ers fan who knows who you're going to have a free agency, who's going to be coming up to sign, I don't have all that information here in front of me. Who does that put on the chopping block, or who is going to be the odd man out on getting signed if Brandon Ayuk gets signed by the Niners?
We have to sign him, so it doesn't matter. I think it puts extension talks at a standstill, maybe with a Dre Greenlaw. He signed he's making like $9 million a year, $8 million a year. I'm not sure if we can bring him back. And also, I think it puts Eric Armstead on the chopping block a little bit. I'd have to go and do some research on him.
Sucks.
He'll be part of we'll get more into this, obviously, when we can spend the time to research, but I'd have to look at the cap hits and when the best time to cut a player like that is. But we can extend Brandon Ayuk next year with no problems. It's the hell that awaits us moving forward with if Mr. Irrelevant wins us a Super Bowl and what the hell we're going to have to pay him. So, you and me have talked back and forth about Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel probably 10 or 15 times. We got breaking news.
Eric Armstead is 18 million post first June 1st cut. 18 million saved.
June 1st, okay.
Pre is like only 2 million. Yeah, post is 18. Yeah, so pretty significant.
And I also think, there's a George Kittle restructure. There's a Javon Hargrave restructure, and 18 months from now there might be a Nick Bosa restructure. So the 49ers play fast and loose with the cap. They're really, really good at it, and they never sign outside players to massive contracts. So when they're extending their players, they really do it the right way. I think they pretty famously signed the Colin Kaepernick extension. They did like 5 1-year contracts. Basically, was his contract he signed. So every year it was like a $1 million cap hit if we decided to cut him. So Hargrave we signed, and Mooney Ward we signed. Hargrave's been okay, but Mooney Ward has been unbelievable. So
Yeah,
and the
lockdown.
other all the other defensive talent there, our corners are young. Hufunga is young. Um,
Who?
yeah, so we have to sign Brandon Ayuk, no matter what. I
I
don't.
think this. Go ahead.
That's Brock Purdy's guy. Like you
Yeah,
got to
for
bring
sure.
his guy back. On the flip side of that, for that exact reason, I don't think T Higgins is back with the Bengals, and I know he's on the list because he's not Joey B's guy. But Brock Purdy's guy is Brandon Ayuk. That's the
Yeah,
guy that he
for
just
sure.
grips it and rips it. And Debo Samuel is super important in his own way, but you got to bring Brandon Ayuk back.
Yeah, for sure. So the Bengals are expected to apply the franchise tag to T. Higgins, but T. Higgins has reportedly zero interest in playing under the franchise tag. Higgins and his team rejected an offer from the Bengals last season while being more confident in securing a more lucrative deal as a free agent. The Panthers are reportedly the biggest front runner to land Higgins this offseason. 4 years, $18.6 million a year is his expected bring home. But if he's expecting a bigger contract, I mean, you might see closer to that 20 million range where Brandon Ayuk's getting if he thinks he's as good as Brandon Ayuk, which he's not. I like T. Higgins, but he's not Brandon Ayuk. I'm sorry. But him and his team could very well say, well, I think I'm as good as this player. I'm as good as this player. Give me the one spot instead of Jamar Chase. I'm as good as that player. It's just not true. But
I, I love
I
T
think this is
Higgins to the
interesting.
Panthers. I think that's a great idea. Hopefully
Yeah.
he signs his contract first because I don't think he'll get as much money. God help us if CeeDee Lamb signs his first, and then Brandon Ayuk is like, yeah,
Yeah.
I want the CeeDee Lamb money because if I got all the targets CeeDee Lamb had, I'd have the same amount of receptions and yards. So give me his money. I don't know about that because that dude's going to get paid.
I think it's
So
funny that those two guys their play styles are kind of similar to each other. When you watch them play, I think it's funny. I think that Brandon Ayuk plays a little bigger than CD Lamb. What is Brandon Ayuk listed at height wise?
he's just so damn physical, man. That's why people feel that way because you see a Christian McCaffrey 60-yard run and Brandon Ayuk is carrying his block down into the end zone. So he's just, you know,
Yeah, he's 6 foot. I'm pretty sure CD is. I'm pretty sure CD's like 6'3", 6'2", 6'3". Yeah, and CD doesn't play that way. He's played bigger as time has gone on. He's 6'2", 200 pounds.
what's really funny about CeeDee Lamb is those two will forever be linked because when I was doing my draft stuff, it was like one of the first years we were doing it or I was doing it. I'm looking at CeeDee
Yeah,
Lamb and I really didn't like CeeDee Lamb. I was like, I don't see it. Like I don't see the next level. I don't see him giving it on every play. I don't see it. I really loved Brandon Ayuk. And then there was this thing that leaked, and I've told you this story before, where Kyle Shanahan was in his office and he had his wide receiver rankings, and CeeDee Lamb was number one and Brandon Ayuk was number two. And I was like,
yeah,
oh shit, I better go back and watch more CeeDee Lamb because if Kyle Shanahan thinks he's a dog, then he's probably a dog. So,
right.
and obviously he's
So,
a dog.
so next, talking about Mike Evans. Mike Evans and the Buccaneers are expected to come to an agreement this offseason. Last year, Mike Evans expressed frustrations with the team, but this offseason is reportedly it's reported that the atmosphere has changed, particularly with the impact of Baker Mayfield and him leading them to a divisional game. So Mike Evans likes Baker Mayfield. I think if you sign Mike Evans, it's telling they're going to sign Baker Mayfield, I think. And if that's the case, I think they lose out on Antoine Winfield. I don't think they have the money to sign Antoine. You don't think so?
I just don't agree. I don't. Mike Evans is probably a Hall of Fame talent, but he's had seasons in the NFL now, and I'm just not sure if signing Baker for 3 years, 115 million is the best move for your franchise. But I'm not an NFL GM. I just like to talk about things that may or may not happen. So
I think, yeah.
Antoine Winfield is a certified stud.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
let him be a free agent. And, God help us if the Eagles sign Antoine Winfield because their safeties are slow and old. So
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah, they can keep doing dumb signings and they can keep hiring dumb people like Kellen Moore and whatnot, but don't let them get Antoine.
yeah, I think that was a great signing for them. For
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sorry, that was a great signing for you and I.
exactly. Yep. This last one I think is really interesting because I heard some interesting stuff about this that I was not aware of until literally just today. Jacksonville's looking to secure Calvin Ridley after finishing with 1,016 yards and 8 touchdowns. Market value has him about $17 million a year for 4 years. So what I didn't realize is, one, I did realize that the Jaguars third round pick goes to the Falcons. That goes to them for this. What I didn't realize is that if Calvin Ridley inks a deal with the Jaguars this offseason, that the Falcons get the Jaguars' second round pick. I didn't realize that. So that's something to take into consideration for the Jaguars is not only are you giving up a second round pick, but you're also signing the guy to a 4-year, $17 million contract or $17 million a year contract. You got to take both things into account. If you just got to sign the guy, you sign the guy. I think that's something that you go into. You're not going into next season with Christian Kirk as your slot and then a rookie, maybe. But now that you're talking about giving up a second round pick as well, I think it makes you at least stop and reconsider for a second. Be like, all right, let's get all of the pieces out of the puzzle. Let's get it all out on the table and let's piece this all together, see what it looks like. And let's just be really confident about this decision. I think this one is the most interesting out of all of them because of that second round pick that's attached to it. And I didn't realize that until literally just today, listening to another podcast.
I do enjoy the hell out of that trade structure, though. Like, hey, we're going to give you this guy for a third, but if he signs an extension with you because he comes out and balls out like we know he can, it's going to take some. It's going to take some more compensation.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Can you replace Calvin Ridley on a rookie scale contract with a second round pick, though? Because I think you probably can.
I think you. Do they draft wide receiver now with the second round pick, but a first? They go with the first round pick instead, and they pick a wide receiver.
You know what? I think they got to get Trevor Lawrence as much help as they can because the jury's still out on that dude. So,
yeah, we're definitely gonna have our own conversations about him. Where did they pick right now? Where is
20 something?
No,
they didn't
17.
make the playoffs, huh? They'll be
17. And you know what's funny is this guy came to mind first thing, and
I was thinking the dude from Washington. Who you got?
Yeah, that's
Azune?
Roma Dunze. Yep.
Yeah, Dunze.
So that's what CBS has right here. I was literally looking to see where they're at in this mock, and yeah, Rome is mocked directly to them. I find that pretty interesting. That's exactly what I was looking for. Was Rome.
I really enjoy us being in lockstep so far on this draft stuff that we're talking. Let me pull up what I did for them. Perfect content. Yeah, I went wide receiver for them also. I already had him drafted, so I went the kid from LSU. But yeah, I definitely think
Neighbors.
I think they need to do something for him because.
Wait, hold on. Wait, you think Neighbors will fall to 17? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
It's now you're gonna make me look again. Brian. What's his name? Brian. Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh, okay.
LSU is going to have 2 wide receivers go in the first round. That's nuts. That's why they got a freaking Heisman winning quarterback that's overrated, but whatever.
Ooh, all right. Talking about wide receivers, still, I want to talk about, dude, I think this just caps off his whole reign with with Kansas City. The whole Kadarius Toney drama.
Dude's a moron.
Going on Instagram Live just to kind of accuse the team of exaggerating and falsifying his injuries. And
you know what I wish? I wish the GM would just come out and say, hey, you know what? He's right. He fucking sucks. And we tried to give him an out by saying he was having his baby and he had an injury, but he's so trash. We're not interested in him being part of the team anymore. You're right. We lied. Like, dude, how stupid are you? Like, they think you're a trash can, but they didn't want to put negative business out there about you because you still have a chance to get a job this offseason, and then you're going to fire back on them. This is the Kansas City Chiefs. This is one of the best organizations in football, okay? This is not the Los Angeles Chargers. This is not the Chicago Bears. This is the Kansas City Chiefs. They try to do you a favor, and now you're a moron. Like, honestly, who would even sign that guy in the offseason anyway? Like, you know where he's going to sign in the offseason? or not even in the offseason. You know where he signs week 1 of the season? Some team's practice squad. He's going to be sitting there with Dalvin Cook somewhere on some team's practice squad.
Yep.
You know, on the flip side is
it's not even worth it. I mean, I'd much rather give me a guy like Josh Reynolds over him any day of the week. You know, one of those guys who's like going to be the cream of the crop of tier 2 guys in the wide receiver free agency pool. Don't give me a guy like Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, you know, another thing that's kind of funny, practice squad players is much was made of the Dalvin Cook thing, and then old Zach Ertz signed with the Lions, and then they didn't even have him up for the game. You know, maybe you should have signed a couple weeks ago, player. Like, you thought you were just going to roll in, sign, and they were going to put you in over Laporta. How'd that work out for you?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're throwing game saving passes to freaking Chris Conley. So that practice squad thing is
if you look at the wide receiver pool for the free agency, Mike Evans, Odell, Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Cedric Wilson. I'm taking Cedric Wilson and Kendrick Bourne and DJ Shark over Kadarius Toney. I'm not Paris Campbell, Mecole Hardman, Braxton Berrios. Give me Jakeem Grant. I might take Nelson Aguilar over him. Like, dude, get him off my team. Leave me alone. I don't ever want to see him again. Type beat.
Yeah, bro. Don't talk negatively about my guy Kendrick Bourne, man. That's my guy.
I like Kendrick. I do. All right, I don't even want to talk about this guy anymore. Last thing I want to talk about with the smaller news, is Teddy Bridgewater. He's retiring. I know you texted me and you were sound like you were pretty surprised about it. This is something that came out like early December.
I'm gonna cut you off. I got one for you.
Okay. All right.
Kadarius Toney or Chase Claypool, if you had to take one.
Oh.
I went to look at the wide receiver free agency, who was the biggest trash can I could find. And I'm like, all right, who's the biggest trash can wide receiver free agency that I compare to him? And Chase Claypool has to be absolutely perfect for this.
Okay, let's see. Google flip a coin. And that's how I feel about my decision. I don't care. Dude, if I had to pick, man, I guess Chase Claypool, because his antics are on the field, not behind the scenes. And
you'd rather have the guy that gives up on the field than the guy that just puts bad stuff on social media?
Yeah, why not? Whatever. He's not going to be playing on the field very much anyways. He can't poison the locker room at the very least.
At least Claypool can catch the damn ball. He may not block, but he can catch the ball. Sorry.
Man.
Hey, Teddy Two Gloves. That's I remember one of my favorite things about Twitter is everything breaks on Twitter and everything always comes out there first. And I remember reading that when he hurt himself, that players who saw the injury saw it actually happen, literally like fell to their knees and threw up on the field because it was so disgusting at what happened to his knee. So Teddy Bridgewater, a la Alex Smith, the fact that he went through what he went through and he came back and made a career of it, that's a round of applause to me. He never lived up to what exactly I think he could have, but Teddy Bridgewater with Adrian Peterson there for a minute, they had a little thing going. So kudos to him. Anytime you make it past 3 or 4 years in the league, it's a success because I think the average NFL career is like 2.5 years. So shout out to Teddy Two Gloves, and hopefully, whatever comes next for him is he's happy with it.
Yeah, just a quick little thing. Quote from him. He says, "Whatever was meant for me, I played out exactly how it was meant. And I'm still with that mindset every day. And I'm really appreciative that I'm in year 10. I tell everyone this is my last year, so I'm in my final year, and I'm enjoying it all, man." Bridgewater also told the Free Press that he considered retiring the 2022 season, but ultimately decided to join the Lions after talking with head coach Dan Campbell. So, yeah, dude, it sucks, because I remember that cold Vikings playoff game that he played in, and he played well, and then he just blew out his knee in that training camp, and it derailed the whole career at that point. Everything was over, and he ended up bouncing around. Stops along the way was New Orleans, Panthers, Broncos, Dolphins, and then now retiring with the Lions. So shout out to him. 15,120 yards, 75 touchdowns, 47 interceptions. After he's done playing, he plans to coach high school football and focus on raising his 2 sons.
I was going to say he's got a quarterback's coach written all over him.
Yeah,
Obviously, if he doesn't want to invest the time in it and wants to spend time with the family, but once the kids are a little bit grown and he has some success at the high school or college level, he seems like um, if he retires, sometimes these guys get the phone calls late in the off season and they get that, $9 million, $10 million contract to come and be a backup for a year. But yeah, shout out to him. I feel kind of old now that I've watched an entire, 10-year career transpire in front of me.
right.
That's where we're at. Like you mentioned earlier in the pod, I don't remember the early days of um, Tom Brady. I think there's that funny TikTok clip that floats around at Tom Brady's first Super Bowl where John Madden's like, well, I don't know what they're doing. I would just run it out here and go to overtime. And then they go down and win. And they're on the other side of the field. He's like, well, I really like what the Patriots are doing here. So I don't remember any of that either. But I remember when Teddy Bridgewater was drafted and I really liked Teddy Bridgewater.
Yep.
But
it was last pick of the first round, if I remember correctly.
I really liked Sam Darnold also. So that just goes to show you shout out another one of my draft crushes, Jake Locker.
Oh man. All right. So now I want to move on. I want to move on to last two segments are fun segments in my mind. First one, NFL stocks, buy or sell. Okay, so I have
Is
five
this players
stocks.
or teams?
This is scenarios.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay.
I love it.
So you're buying or selling. Okay, we're opening up the stock market. Go to ring that bell. Buying or selling Justin Fields being traded this offseason. Are you buying this or are you selling this?
Buying it. He can't play quarterback. He can't throw from the pocket. Get that man out of here. Roll out the red carpet. Bing, bing, bing. USC, come on down. Caleb Williams, Chicago Bears starting quarterback. And then I want them to take Justin Fields, trade him for a second. I want them to take that second round pick and their number 9 pick they have. I want them to jump back into the top 5 and take my guy, Marvin Harrison Jr. And do the D'Amico Ryans playbook from last year where they got Stroud and Will Anderson. Let's get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Chicago Bears ASAP. Buying.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with that. First part, absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna buy all of this stock. I'm gonna buy every single penny. Yeah,
that's the first part.
Moving back up and all that stuff. That's wild. Now, it's not impossible because again, we just saw it this past draft, and it worked out extremely well for the Texans. Obviously, they have the offensive player of the year, or excuse me, offensive rookie of the year, and then potentially the defensive rookie of the year on the other side as well. Jalen Carter might have something to say about that, but Will Anderson is the man he was supposed to be. Now, are you buying or are you selling? It's another trade. Stephon Diggs being traded this offseason.
I'm buying that. I don't believe in this whole, oh, hey, yeah, he's my brother, but what he says has nothing to do with me. Trayvon was trying to get Stephon out of that team at like the week 6, know, and I just think with the Bills, they got to do a lot of soul searching. It hasn't worked. What they have hasn't worked. It looks like they found a running back, but
for sure.
Every time Josh Allen does something heroic, it's him doing it with his feet. I just don't know if it's Stephon Diggs. I don't know if it's another issue, but they need a lot more than just 1 or 2 tweaks if they want to get past Mahomes and, sending off Diggs for some draft compensation or whatever else they can get for him might be, especially when he seems unhappy. But I'm of the mindset, man, if the player's unhappy, I don't want him on my team anyway.
Absolutely. So I'm curious. I didn't watch a lot of Bills football this year. Stephon was Stephon, right? Those first 8 weeks. And then after that, he just fell off. Was it game planning? Was it Stephon not getting open? Was it Josh Allen not throwing to him? What was it? Did you watch more Bills football than I did to know the answer to that? I want to go back and look, but what was the issue there? Because Stephon should still be Stephon. There shouldn't be an issue there. He's still a top 5 route runner in the league. You don't just fall off in the middle of a season, in my mind, unless you all of a sudden secretly secret injury comes out, being like, yeah, I was playing through a torn meniscus the whole time, and I really couldn't route run that well, and I really wasn't getting open. It was kind of my bad. Unless that comes out, I don't see from off season to off season, and you have a drop off because of game planning and offensive coordinator changes, all that stuff. That's realistic. But in the middle of the season, with the best wide receiver on the team, and you really don't have another good wide receiver on the team at all, or great, I should say. Why do you fall off? That's my question.
To me, it's chemistry with your starting quarterback, man. You got your brother out there spouting off. Who knows what he was doing in the locker room and what he was saying. And I just think it's one of those things when you go into war with someone, you want to trust them when you go into battle. And a lot of these throws that these quarterbacks make, it's because they know the guy is going to do what he needs to do and be where he needs to be. I watch it every week with my quarterback. He makes anticipation throws because he's expecting the wide receiver to be where he's going to be, and it's because he has chemistry. Like I said, we have to pay Brandon Ayuk because that's Brock Purdy's guy. Stephon Diggs is not Josh Allen's guy. They're not on the same page. They don't seem to have the chemistry, and you can see it. Now, I don't think that necessarily translates to Stephon's next stop, but we are talking about a guy who's coming into the later half of his career. You see these wide receivers, they're divas. They always want to get paid, DeAndre Hopkins went where he went this year for the contract, not for the best chance at winning. And so I would have to imagine at this point, I think Diggs is probably on the decline coming out of his top most productive years. And I'm not sure if he's worth sticking around if he's not 1,000% happy and in line with his quarterback, because Josh Allen ain't going nowhere.
That's for sure. Now, next one, buy or sell. Are you buying or are you selling on the Patriots drafting a quarterback?
I'm buying that 1,000%. I saw him do an interview where he said that they were going to do a ton of research on the most important pick in the most important position in a draft. And the only other player that's up there is a tackle or Marvin Harrison Jr. And Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't do nothing for you if it's Bailey Zappi throwing the ball to him. So,
I would, 100%. I think they're drafting a quarterback, whether it's here at 3 or whether they're moving back and they're drafting somebody else. I think they're taking a quarterback regardless, especially with the new regime coming in. It's super common for when you see a new regime coming in, especially with the high draft picks, they're drafting a quarterback. Now, are you buying or selling? And this has been slight whispers that I've seen of them potentially wanting to do this. And I think this would be super interesting. Buying or selling the Denver Broncos moving up to draft Caleb Williams?
I'm selling.
Yeah.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because I'm not a big believer in cutting a hole in your boat. I saw this on Twitter. Shout out to Benjamin Albright. He said he is not a big believer in cutting a hole in his boat to patch another hole in his boat. And the only way that you get up to one is by trading your star corner. It makes no sense to trade Surtain to go to number one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I am a big believer. I am a buyer in the Broncos just cutting Russell or trading him away or just taking that cap hit straight to the face and eating it, $110 million hit or whatever it's going to be, and just making it super nasty for a year. Because you gave Sean Payton the fat contract, so he ain't going nowhere, and he inherited Russell Wilson. So I'm a buyer in them finding a different quarterback, but to get all the way up to one, the problem I have with that is that means the Bears have to decide they want to rock with Justin Fields. So you got to want to rock with Justin Fields. You got to want to trade away your star corner. And it makes that's crazy to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now,
unless the Bears are just so in love with J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael, maybe the Bears love Michael Penix and they're like, hey, we can get him at the 10th. They have the 9th or 10th pick, whatever it is. So we can get a king's ransom for Caleb, but we could roll with Michael Penix. And we're still going to trade Justin Fields, I guess. But Caleb is Caleb, and I just feel like the Broncos, you're going to give up the picks. You're going to give up Patrick. Like, there's got to be another team out there there's got to be another team out there that's got better offers than that.
And the Denver Broncos really don't have the draft compensation to be trading away to go up. I mean, they're still they're still paying off their ransom for Russell Wilson. So they don't have the draft compensation to actually move up to get Caleb Williams. It's just
Don't get
not
me
going to happen.
wrong. I love the idea of Caleb with Sean Payton over whatever he's going to have over there in Chicago. The fact that they didn't move off of that situation is mind boggling to me. But
Yeah.
hey, you know what? And to flash back to another buy sell, I don't know if this is part of them, so I'm going to add my own, and I'm going to sell this. I'm selling on the fact that Kellen Moore turned Justin Herbert into a fucking tomato, but he's going to make magic out of Jalen Hurts. I think that was a terrible hire. Like
Absolutely.
you're going to ruin Justin Herbert. Dak Prescott looked like a trash can last year, and then he's an MVP candidate this year once you're gone. And I was a big Kellen
Yep.
Moore believer. I was like, Justin Herbert going to be an MVP candidate this year, but you're going to make magic out of Jalen Hurts? No.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then I got one more. Buy or sell. Are you buying or selling the Chargers moving on from Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack?
I'm buying both of those.
Both?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Does a lot of it have to do with new regime coming in and making those type of changes to free up the space so they could do what they want?
I just Joey is valuable. You imagine the 49ers adding Joey Bosa to their defensive line. That they would pay for it. And Joey can do so much for the 49ers at defensive tackle position, more than he's going to do for the Chargers. They can rotate him in and out. I think when you come in with a new regime, you have the stud quarterback, and their cap situation is just hell. Like,
yeah, it's not good.
The only other situation that's worse than theirs is the Panthers, and it's because they have no draft capital and their rookie quarterback might suck. But whatever you can do to shed salary, bring in pick. Yeah, that's true. Bring in picks, whatever you can do. And Khalil Mack had a good season, flashy season. Maybe you get the Von Miller return for Khalil Mack. I would just do whatever. I don't know if you're bringing Derwin James back either. Like there's a lot there. And Harbaugh signed a 5-year deal. So he's not winning the Lombardi next year. So why not get everything you can?
For sure. All right. Well, that's it for our buy and sell. Last segment is I want to grade the 2023, so last year's first round draft picks, their rookie years. Okay. So it's technically only 31 picks for the first round. But I threw the 32nd pick in there as well. The Steelers, I threw their pick in there just to round out the 32. So we're giving a grade. So A, B, C, D, C plus, C minus, A plus, A minus. That's what we're giving out right now. Okay. And we're going in order.
Before we start this, just as a caveat on my own personal grades, I won't be handing anyone an F on this. These are rookies. And football is hard. The NFL is tough. And there's no way a first round pick is an F unless you draft Tyree Wilson at 7. That's pretty terrible. But it's, again, taking Cole Strange in the first round or taking Darius Hayward-Bay over, Michael Crabtree. That's not that player's fault that they were overdrafted in that situation. That's the organization's fault. So are we grading the player? Or are we grading the organization's decision to draft that player? We'll see. Maybe we can caveat a couple of these, but I don't think I'll be giving anyone a straight F.
Okay. Well, that makes one of us.
Fair enough.
So first pick in the draft, Bryce Young. I'll go
F.
first.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
I'm giving him a C minus. I'm giving it a C minus right now. I have a lot of faith in Bryce Young. This is a grade that can move exponentially up. The dude has no help. I'm giving him a C minus.
I'm 1,000% with you. Every reason you mentioned.
Yep.
He might have looked a lot different last year with DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey. So
yeah, it'd be nice if they had players like that, huh? Second pick, CJ Stroud. This is going to be one of 1, 2, 3 A pluses. I have 3 A pluses in this first round. CJ Stroud is one of them. I don't think you can hit any bigger home run than that. Yeah, he's supposed to be pretty damn good at the second overall pick, but he's not supposed to bring you back to the playoffs good. He's not supposed to be that good, but he's pretty damn good. A plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A minus. The only reason for that is because they had no other option at that pick, and the Carolina Panthers did the hard thing by making the decision. You just
Mm,
had to pick the guy that was left. So
okay.
the Carolina Panthers pick was 1,000 times harder than the Houston Texans pick. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. The kid balled out. I give him and his season an A plus, but the pick
Yeah.
itself, the draft pick itself, there was no other option there, and so for the process behind the pick and making the pick, that's an A minus.
Okay. And I get that.
Just to
Well,
differ from you, to be honest with you. just to give it a little bit more analysis.
now next, Will Anderson. I'm giving this one an A, 100% A. Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate, maybe the Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's pretty damn hard to get Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year in the same draft, picking right back to back with each other on top of that. So it's an easy A for me.
So for the same reasons I just gave an A minus to the pick prior, this is an A plus for the player. The process that went into pick it, the balls it takes to move the capital to get back into the first round to
In your
select a
first
player,
draft,
and then to have him ball out the way he did. That
yep.
1,000% is an A plus, ballsy ass move. I love it, and I'm not being biased just because I love D'Amico. I just the whole process behind the idea of that, doing that, and I don't know whose idea was it, whether it was D'Amico's or whether it was the front offices, but for them all to look each other in the face, because I'm sure they all had a hand in it and said, this is what we're going to do. Kudos to you guys for doing that. And you deserve everything that you have coming the next couple of years because you're doing things the right way.
Yeah. Fourth overall pick, Anthony Richardson. I'm giving this one a B minus. I think the flashes that we saw from him were really impressive. And the flashes that we saw from him were really impressive and a lot better than I thought they were going to be. I'm not an Anthony Richardson believer. And so maybe that skews my grade a little bit higher than other people's. But the injury concern brings it down a little bit to a B minus. Getting injured as often as he did, ending a season, that's perfectly fine. End your own season, get the surgery. You have a long career ahead of you, hopefully. But even some of the games that he didn't finish all of his games. He got in concussion protocols. Then he missed the next game. It's just I'm concerned about the injury stuff already, but the flashes I saw were impressive.
This is a C minus to me because the only way he can be successful is to put his body on the line, and he clearly, in his first season, has shown that he does not have the Cam Newton like ability to take the beating and get back up and keep on going. So,
yeah,
to me, if you can only be successful by putting your body on the line, and he was way better a thrower of the football than I expected. And it's kind of funny. I was trying to remember who was for, and I'd totally forgotten about him as an entire player. I'm super excited for him to come back next year. But if you can only be successful in your first couple of seasons by putting your body on the line, you're going to continue to get hurt. Because I watched those hits he took. It's not like he got blown the hell up. They like the play he got injured on, kind of the same type of play that Deebo Samuel's injured his shoulder on twice. It's like you've taken far bigger hits. It was kind of inconspicuous, and now you're surgery on that shoulder. So I'm glad he made the decision to get surgery in his rookie year instead of trying to battle it through and doing worse.
Absolutely.
But to me, if you have to run the ball and put your body on line to be successful, and you can't stay healthy enough to do it, that's a C minus to me.
Yep. Fifth overall, Devon Witherspoon. This is an A.
A.
Yeah, absolutely. Elite cornerback. The fact that the Seahawks could get two stud corners back-to-back drafts, Tariq Woolen and then Devon Witherspoon. One obviously picked a lot higher than the other. Round of applause to them. But yeah, this is an A. Easy A to me.
Yeah, this is an A because I was in love with Ringo, the Eagles corner that they took, and I thought he was a dude. And when they took Witherspoon, I was like, I don't remember where you had him ranked, but I was like, I don't know if that's the guy. Did you have him? Did you end up moving him to one? I was like, I don't know.
Him, oh no, I don't remember if I had Christian Gonzalez or Devon Witherspoon one.
I had Witherspoon one of those. Behind Gonzalez, Ringo, and why can't I remember his name? And now I can't even think of the team. Black and
Manuel Forbes.
Yellow.
No. Joey Porter.
Thank you, Steelers. Yeah, I had him behind all those guys. So shout out to the Seahawks for seeing the talent. Shout out to me for sitting on my couch thinking I'm a draft analyst. That's an A for sure.
Yeah. Paris Johnson Jr., 6 overall to the Cardinals. I'm giving this one a B. He played really well. He ended up playing, I believe he ended up playing right tackle most of the season instead of his left tackle position that he was supposed to play. It's a B. I would like to see him shifted over to that left side in the next coming seasons, especially with the Cardinals and the shifting around they're going to have to do with the offensive line. I'd like to see him play that left-hand side, but when he did play, he played well. I'm giving this one a B.
It's a super, super high pick for a right tackle.
Yes.
Super high pick for a right tackle.
Yep, that's why
But
it's a B. Yeah.
judging offensive tackles on their first rookie season, I think if we went back and looked outside of maybe Penei Sewell, I can't remember off the top of my head Tristan Wirf's first season, but it probably wasn't super great either. Super hard position to play. So
Yeah.
I love the grade of a B just because he played right tackle. If he had played left tackle all season, had the season he had, it's an A plus probably.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it won't be an A. You know, he might move over to left tackle halfway through next season and be a stalwart there for the next 7 years. And it's like, wow, what a great pick. So I think he's a hell of a player, and I think he can play left tackle. But because he played right tackle, that's high for that's like taking offensive guard in the top 10. You can't do it.
Yeah. 7th overall, Tyree Wilson. This is going to be one of 2 Fs. This one's an F to me. This is one of 2 Fs. So I have 2 of them here. But this is one of them. Dude was like one of the worst defensive linemen recorded in like since the PFF era ever.
Yep.
He's atrocious, and he could get better, but I was not personally a fan of Tyree Wilson when he came out. I thought he was slow. His arms were shorter. He didn't show a lot of power. He had no bend, and all of that translated directly to the NFL, and I thought he was just not very good, and he didn't play very high competition. Leave it to the Raiders. Leave it to the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a D minus. He was overdrafted, and he went to a historically terrible organization for draft picks. So I'm not gonna put that all on the player. If we have a 3rd and 4th round draft grade on a player, and someone decides to take him in the 1st, that's not that player's fault. You know, if the Raiders come out next year and draft a punter in the 1st round, that's not that guy's fault. So it's a D minus. You know, if everybody had said Tyree was this guy is a top 5 pick, guaranteed. He's the next Nick Bosa. He's the next X, Y, and Z. And he had played the way he did, then I'd have given him an F. But it's not his fault, man. First, it's the Raiders, and second, he was overdrafted. So that's one of those bad positions for him. And hopefully he can shed the expectations of being a top 10 pick soon and just try to play football the best way he can, which I don't think is going to be very good going forward. But, you know, it's not his fault they took him top 10.
8th overall, Bijan Robinson. I'm giving this one a B. I think Bijan was shown to be, well, first things first, the Atlanta Falcons don't know how to use weapons, and hopefully that changes with the departure of Arthur Smith. That's one. That was something that I took into account here. 2, when he did run the ball, he was not as effective as at times. He was less effective than Tyler Algier. Most of his damage came on catching the ball. Stick him in the Alvin Kamara role type deal, which is not a bad role. You could rush for sub 1,000 yards, but then be in the 700-800 yards in receiving yards. I think that's where Bijan can kind of sit. I think he's a really good player, and I'm excited to see where he lands for the next season. This is another grade that can easily move up. But it all depends on how the next coach is going to go ahead and use him. So that's a B to me.
Bijan to me is a C minus. I think that spending the draft capital they did on the position when they already had what they had at the position. I thought Cordell Patterson was fine. Wow, that's really loud. And then
I heard that one.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't even have any trees, so I don't even know what that is. And then to not even use him, and the Arthur Smith hate is weird to me. He sucked, but he was a really good work is calling, because of course he was a really good offensive coordinator for the Titans. So to draft him so high and then not use him, it's a C minus to me, because I don't know if he's good. I think he is. I saw the highlights, but I don't know if he is. And when you're top 10 and we don't know if you're any good, not great.
You can extend those same questions to Kyle Pitts and Drake London as well. You can extend those same questions to them.
I would move off Kyle Pitts this offseason with a quickness, because he may not be good at all.
I think they're going to. Moving on, 9th overall, Eagles, Jalen Carter,
A+. Moving on.
100%. He only he
Yeah.
only dropped because of the random like character concern stuff.
How many clips did we see this season of some random player walking up to him? How'd they get you at 9, bro?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, A plus.
Yeah, he goes.
Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate, maybe even the winner.
Does he go 3? Did the Texans take him at 3 if we redraft, or would they still go Will Anderson?
They go 3. I think he either goes 3 or he goes 5.
Yeah, because Anthony Richardson's still going 4.
Yeah, I think he goes 3 or 5. I think that's where he goes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where he's at. Number 10, Darnell Wright, A-. Dude's a stud. I really like Darnell Wright. I think he's going to be a premier guy in this league for a long time. I was big on Darnell Wright coming out, and he proved every bit of it. Big fan of Darnell.
Yeah, A pick for me, obviously. I had a high grade on him. He got drafted where I thought he should get drafted, and he played well. So that's everything you want out of a top 10 pick.
Absolutely. And then 11, Peter Skoronski.
Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? Is he a guard? Is he a tackle?
I think that this pick is a B. He's super solid. You can put him on the all rookie team easily. He's really good, really solid. He's going to continue to develop a little bit. I think the problem with Peter Skoronski is you get what you get, and that B plus grade you can kind of slap on him is where Peter Skoronski is going to sit for about the rest of his career. He's going to be a guy who's super solid, not really remembered except by maybe Titans fans for the next 10 years. And he's just going to be that dude who's just going to kind of hold down that guard position, but he's not going to be an all-pro. He's not going to be a Pro Bowler. He's just going to be there.
Yeah, I'm going to go C plus with him. The top end talent is clearly lacking. He's clearly a guard. It's just way too high for that pick. And I thought he was a tackle coming out, and you and I disagreed. I think you said he had short arms, right?
Yeah.
He's a guard. You win, but Christian Watson's still a stud, so suck it. You just can't take a guard that high to me, and he's not Quentin Nelson either. So
yeah, no, for sure.
That's where I'm at with that. Good, but that doesn't mean he's not a good player. Like
no, absolutely.
He might play guard for the next 12 years. So I'm with it. But just the draft process and the pick there.
Yep. 12th, Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm giving this one a B plus. Jahmyr Gibbs was a stud. I was not just lightweight, I was heavyweight hoping that Jahmyr Gibbs would fall to the Cowboys at 26, and then the Lions took him at 12. Stupid son of a bitches. And because I was a big fan of Gibbs. I thought after Bijan, I thought Gibbs was like the dude. And I didn't think it was like 1-2. I thought it was like 1A, 1B. I really was a big fan of Gibbs coming out of Bama, and he proved how good he was this year. With a slow start, not getting a lot of touches and reps, and then he started to come on towards the middle of the season and all the way to the end into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's an A- for me because I think he impacts the game in a multitude of ways. He's young, and I also think that his skill set translates to a second contract. So I'm not a huge draft a running back that high because you can generally find these guys all over the place, but he definitely seems like a player that you can keep around for a second contract. They made it to the NFC Championship game this year.
Yep.
And I'm not going to give him a lower draft grade just because he cost their team the game by fumbling. So
yeah, for sure. 13th overall, Lucas Van Ness. I'm giving this one a C+. He had flashes. I think he ended the year with 5 sacks. It's pretty impressive. I can move this grade to a B- if I'm being honest. I was teetering on this one a little bit. I thought this was a little high for Lucas Van Ness initially coming out. I was super surprised that they selected him this high, but I thought it was impressive what he did. So C+.
I think where did you have him at? What position did you have him at coming out?
I thought he was a defensive end.
Okay. I think I'll give him a C.
Like 4-3 defensive end.
I give him a C. I think there's this weird thing with pass rushers and where the defenses they get drafted to, are they hand in the dirt? Are they an off-ball linebacker? Are they an off-ball linebacker that gets taken off the field in dime and nickel situations? You know, I've told you 1,000 times that I think Micah should be playing linebacker, not defensive end. So It just depends where he slots in at a, if he's on the field all 3 downs, which I don't think he was this year, but he's a rookie.
No,
Um, when he comes up for a contract extension, if he's that type of player that he's on the field on all 3 downs, then this is has the ability to go from a C to something higher. But I just don't know if that's what is coming for him, and it's a really high pick for a player that only plays on your base run downs or if he's a third down pass rushing specialist. If you're taking
yeah,
a player like this in the top 15, I want him to play all the time.
for sure.
So that's where I'm at with it. And maybe he will. Obviously, he's a rookie. So.
And 14th, Broderick Jones, B+. Dude was he was supposed to be a Broderick Jones coming out was this like athletic freak, tall, big, fast, strong, but he didn't play the position that long.
Mm-hmm.
So he might have some growing pains in his first year, and he played great. I mean, he was like an anchor on that line.
Yep.
I really like Broderick Jones. I can easily put this as an A-. I think he's a really good player. So B+ right now, but I could easily be moved to an A-.
I don't disagree. I think I had him ranked pretty high as well.
Yeah.
If I went back and looked.
If I remember right, my tackle rankings went, I think I did go Darnell Wright 1, Broderick. No, I went Broderick Jones. No. It was Paris Johnson. Paris Johnson was 1 for me because he was supposed to play left tackle, not right tackle. And then it was Broderick Jones, and then it was Darnell Wright because Darnell Wright is a right tackle exclusively, and Broderick could be swing tackle either way. That was my ranking.
Yeah, I think that I had. See, I thought Skronsky was a tackle.
Yeah,
but
Skronsky was my number 1 interior offensive lineman. So obviously that's where we differed.
I think that I had. I'm trying to be honest with myself. I think. Do you have the draft pulled up in front of you?
Our predictions?
No, just this whole thing as you're going down. You have all the things in front of you. Who did the Jaguars take? They took a tackle.
Anton
right?
Harrison. Harrison.
I think I had Harrison in front of him, but he outplayed yeah. I mean, I'm. The thing about a rookie tackle, as long as you're not terrible, you're automatically a C, I think. Obviously, you can be great. You could be an A, B, or C. But as long as you're not giving up sacks left and right, it's a position you really have to learn and play yourself into. So,
yeah, I would agree. So then moving on to 15th overall, we have Will McDonald. I'm going to give this one a C+. When he did see the field, he was good, but he just didn't see the field all that often in a rotational defensive line. I hope we see more of him coming out. The thing is with Will McDonald, if I remember right, Will McDonald hasn't played the defensive end position that long. So that might be part of him not getting as many reps as some of the other guys. So I'd like to see more because when we did see him, he produced. But until we see him more, I'm not going to move my grade higher than that.
I'm going to give him a C+. He played well, and they're great defense. So this isn't one of those situations where he couldn't get on the field because he wasn't playing well. He just... great defense. So he had an impact on a great defense.
For sure.
Maybe he had an impact because they're a great defense. Hard to say, but for now, decent pick.
16th overall, Emmanuel Forbes. I'm giving this one a C-. There's a big part of this that it's who was on the board and who got drafted literally right after.
Yep.
I didn't have Emmanuel Forbes going in the first round at all. And 16th overall is way too rich for my blood, and it showed. It was too high, way too high for Emmanuel Forbes. So C- is where I'm putting him. He played okay, but okay is not what I want from my first round draft pick, especially when 17th overall, the next guy coming out played as well as he did. You missed.
Yeah, it was a bad pick when you have corners that come out behind him. And honestly, I remember specifically thinking that Washington would be a good place for Jackson Smith and Jigba, who also went behind him. So, that's a C- to me. I'm not gonna
for sure.
He played. He didn't get completely burned, but watching what the Patriots did with Go ahead.
17th overall, Christian Gonzalez. This is my last A plus
Yep.
on this list. Easy A plus, A plus plus. This guy would have been defensive rookie of the year if he didn't get hurt. That's A plus plus. Yeah, elite shutdown corner. I hope he comes back strong and better than ever. I want to see that out of Christian Gonzalez. I want to see him be locked down. I want to see success from players, and this is an easy A plus for me.
And I completely agree. And I'm very interested to know what your next grade is here.
18th overall, Jack Campbell, C minus. This is way too high for Jack Campbell.
Yeah.
And Jack Campbell is very underdeveloped. You see the man, I mean, you saw it. I mean, you watched the game. You saw the man like run into blockers half the time. He's not trying to find the gap in the space. Something that makes guys like Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, Fred Warner especially so good at finding is, just being so good at stopping the run is finding those gaps, playing his assignment and playing in those gaps so well. That's what makes them so good is their knowledge. And Jack Campbell felt just like he was trying to run as fast as possible into the offensive lineman, and he wasn't playing his assignment. He's a C minus. It was way too high, and I didn't have a linebacker going in the first round at all. And 18th overall is too high for me. It's too much, way too much, in my opinion.
This is the second year in a row this year, upcoming, that I thought they should have taken a corner. I thought they should have taken a corner last year. Clearly, the corners that were drafted behind him are better than him. To me, this is a D because not only was he overdrafted, he was also terrible.
Yeah.
When you play linebacker, you have to be able to these option routes and these Texas routes and these routes that these running backs run out of the backfield now. You have to be. Maybe I'm picky because I watch elite linebacker play every week, but just like this doesn't even seem like a situation where, hey man, he's gonna all these tackles we're talking about, they're only gonna get better, right?
Yeah.
I don't think this dude's getting any better. I don't know if he's getting any better. And
tackle, offensive lineman is one of the hardest positions to develop in the NFL, and because it's almost like you draft a tackle and you almost get what you get.
Yeah.
Unless you can develop him. If you can develop him, it's a miracle. And hallelujah, you've turned this guy who's supposed to be a pretty good guy into an all-pro. But yeah, linebackers.
And their defensive backs were so terrible this year. Like
they need corner help so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Terrible pick, in my opinion.
Yeah. 19th overall, Kalijah Cansey. I would have given this grade coming out like a C minus because I didn't believe in Cansey at all. I'm giving this a B now. Dude was a stud. Big run stopper. I like Cansey a lot, and I think he's going to continue to develop. I wasn't a believer at first. I am a believer now, and I think the Bucs have found themselves a mainstay on that defensive line, right next to a guy like Vita Vea. So
I think that so much was put on Jalen, the Eagles kid this year, and then I think we did this last week talking about the defensive tackle for the Rams, the rookie that they drafted.
Yeah,
Kobe, that this guy didn't get as much like talked about as he should have, but every Buccaneers game I watched, like just watching, because I always watch when I watch a team that I think we're going to play, I always watch it from like, how are we going to beat them? Yeah. And I was thinking to myself a couple times, like, oh, freaking Vita Vea and this guy right there. We're not running Christian McCaffrey up the middle. That's for damn sure. We're going to have to go outside edges against these guys because those guys are solid. So,
for sure.
To me, he's a B minus because I couldn't even remember where I graded him pre-draft, but he was drafted high. He played really well. And when you're drafted with a premium pick and you deliver, to me, that's at least a B. A B grade, B minus, whatever it might be.
Yeah, for sure. And 20th overall, Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. I'm going to give this a B minus. This is a flash type B minus grade because the flashes that we saw are very good. He's sitting behind two really good receivers who are mainstays in that Seattle Seahawks offense. And to try to slide yourself in there is hard. It's difficult. and trying to find playing time between the two guys, and you're the third, and then you had the other guy there. Who was it? It's like Jake Bobo or something like that. He was trying to get playing time too. So you're competing constantly. This is a B minus, and I think this kid's. I was really high in Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I think he's going to get even better. I think Tyler Lockett's coming to the end of his career here pretty soon. I mean, he's in his 30s now, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think he's going to slow
Yeah.
down, and I think you're going to see Jackson Smith and Jigba take over his role pretty significantly.
It's a C plus to me because he's hella talented and they didn't utilize him correctly. So if you weren't going to give him the playing time and let him get the targets and the routes and everything, why draft a wide receiver there?
Yeah.
Especially since you didn't even develop him enough to take over for Tyler Lockett. Like, at least start phasing him out at the end when it was clear you weren't making the playoffs. Give him 10, 12, 13 targets a game. So the player itself probably develops into a B plus, A minus type category going forward. But to take him where you took him and then to not utilize him, that's a C plus to me.
Okay. 21, this could have easily been my other F grade, but it wasn't. Quentin Johnston.
It's a D minus for me.
It's a D. I still believe in him.
Do you?
Unfortunately,
I think he sucks.
I think the hands issue is the biggest issue with the kid. And obviously when you play wide receiver, I think you need hands. But I think you utilize him a little bit differently coming out. You don't make him that Z receiver coming out, streaking down the sideline to make those big catches. Even though he's big bodied, I don't think that's how you use him. I heard someone say that you can utilize him more in like a Rashee Rice type role, and I could see it a little bit. I think he's going to go under development for this next season, and I'm curious to see what Mr. Harbaugh does with the kid.
The only reason why he's not an F is because the Chargers were such a shit show this year. I don't know if it was him or not, but when you have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler and all this talent, you should be able to show out a little bit because you don't have the spotlight on you as much. And it seems like every opportunity he had to make a play, he dropped it. And it's also a D minus because of the guy we're going to talk about next. So when you draft a guy at this position and then a player goes right behind you who looks like he's on his way to superstardom.
Next two.
Oh God, I forgot about the Vikings. Yeah, man. Even worse. Maybe he is an F. Damn.
Yeah. 22. Zay Flowers, 22nd overall. This is a B plus to me. I really like him. I do. I didn't have him graded higher than Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison, who's next, was my highest graded wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's pretty much the highest graded wide receiver. And I think it showed.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see what the next grade. But B plus for Zay. I didn't think he was going to be as good as he was. I thought the draft selection to the Ravens was kind of weird. I didn't really see the fit in Baltimore. But he played extremely well. And I think that he's going to continue to develop to be a weapon for Lamar.
I agree. He's a little drama to me, but most really great wide receivers are. So there's like the tiniest of tiny red flags on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, hell of a dude, hell of a player, hell of a weapon. So, I mean, 32 out of 32 NFL teams would take them as their number 2 tomorrow, probably.
Yeah. Yep. And 23rd overall, Jordan Addison. This is an A minus, could be an A. I especially could move it up to an A because when Justin Jefferson gets out, Jordan Addison comes in and he balls and he
destroys
acts like
the 49ers.
And I think that shows when Jordan Addison. I think this shows for more than just one reason. It shows how good he is, one, and it almost plays a hand at the future and what's going to happen with Justin Jefferson. When you have a guy like Jordan Addison comes in and he balls out when he's gone and he's injured.
Yep.
And you got Justin Jefferson who doesn't want to play for you really, and you're going to lose another star wide receiver, and you're doing the rinse repeat cycle. I think Justin Jefferson's gone very, very, very soon. And I think Jordan Addison is a big reason for that. So that's an A minus grade for me.
I agree. I wasn't as high on the pick when it happened just because I didn't know if it was their biggest need. But
for sure.
Obviously they know what's going on with Justin Jefferson better than we do. He gets hurt. And realistically, if Kirk Cousins doesn't blow out his Achilles, they're probably a playoff team this year. So, or I don't know, maybe the Packers really came on. But anyways, yeah, I just think that he showed the best part about him and why he's an A- to me is because he was thrusted into the number one role and he just absolutely succeeded at it. So,
Yep, absolutely. And he was relevant week to week. And I think that's what separates him and Zay Flowers a little bit is Zay went a little bit under the radar some weeks and Jordan didn't. 24th, Deontay Banks. I'm giving this one a B. Deontay showed huge flashes and he was really good for stretches, and then he was not so good for other stretches. I think he's going to be, unfortunately, a good corner for the Giants. And again, this is another one where giving that C- grade to Emmanuel Forbes to the Commanders, Deontay Banks getting a B. He's also sitting there on top of that. So, yeah, a B to him. Absolutely.
I agree. He did have a couple down games this year, but the dysfunction that he played in and the stuff with Wink Martindale and how often he blitzes, and you really put your corners out there on an island and they have to play extremely well. No corner in the world. When the blitz doesn't get home, corners get burnt. Unless it's Darrelle Revis or Sauce Gardner. When the blitz doesn't get home, the corners get burnt. It happens.
Yep,
so
for sure. 25th overall, Dalton Kincaid. I'm giving this one a B-. I think Kincaid was the best offensive weapon tight end wise in the draft. I thought Michael Mayer was the better tight end overall when it comes to blocking and all that stuff. When it comes to just an offensive weapon as a tight end, Dalton Kincaid was that dude. B-. It wasn't really a need that they 100% needed, especially with Dawson Knox being there and they paid him. I didn't see a need for another tight end to go there. But he played well when he did. I give it a B-. I could even move it down a little bit to a C+ though.
Yeah, I'm a C+, just specifically because of the position you play. Hella high to draft that position for it to not even be the number one guy. Now, I may sound like a little bit of a, ridiculous when we undraft or when we unveil our mock drafts here and how high I have my guy premium
Brock
tight
Bowers
end going this year. But I think he changes the landscape for a certain team down there in LA that has a new head coach where I think he'll land. So Dalton Kincaid, I think he's a hell of a talent, a hell of a player, but to draft him that high at that position and then not play him as your number one tight end just doesn't make sense to me, purely from a standpoint of you could have got someone else that could have helped you more this season trying to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. 26 overall. I said that I had another F, didn't I? Mazi Smith, bro. This was okay. I'm going to put it this way. So, again, if you don't know, I'm a Cowboys fan. When players prove me wrong, I admit when I'm wrong. When I'm mad about Tyler Smith being drafted and he proves me wrong, I admit when I'm wrong. When I'm frustrated about Micah Parsons being drafted, I admit when I'm wrong. I am wrong. When I see Mazi Smith
just so everybody knows, Jacob hated the Micah Parsons pick. Just throwing that out there.
I did. I thought it was just another Jalen Smith because that's how he was projected to me, and I thought it was really, really frustrating being like, why would we take another Jalen Smith when why would I take a guy who's really fast and really athletic and can't read the run? Why would I take another guy like that?
And then Jalen Smith cover downfield.
Yep. And then Jalen Smith falls off. Micah Parsons moves into the edge rusher role. I'm wrong. There was a vision there, and I'm wrong. Same thing with Tyler Smith. I didn't like it. I wanted an edge rusher that was sitting there that year. I was wrong. Tyler Smith is very, very, very good.
But in this case,
Mazi Smith sucks.
You were right.
He sucks.
Terrible.
And even when Jonathan Hankins goes down with an injury and our run defense got worse, Mazi Smith still didn't play because he sucks. He sucks. End of the day, end of the line, he sucks. When your defensive line, your tackles aren't performing well enough to stop the running back and they still won't even give you a shot to even try,
listen,
it's not good. And he played a little bit in the middle of the season. Like it was, when I talk about like trajectory, how much he played, it was this much in the beginning of the season, and then it was this much in the middle, and you saw what we had, and then it was this much. When just went immediately down.
When you're a first round pick and I log into my PFF.com premium subscription to send my Cowboys fan family members how bad their first round pick is, and he barely even has a grade because he ain't even playing in the first round pick.
Yep.
Now, the only flip side to this is it's not like, you weren't going to take Joey Porter Jr. And there, once you get into the second round and third round and stuff is a crapshoot. And unless you're
Yeah.
the 49ers and find all your talent in the fifth and sixth, seventh rounds, But yeah, it reminds me a lot of the Taco Charlton pick from a couple years back. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. 27th and Anton Harrison. I liked this pick a lot. I ended up being pretty high on Anton Harrison because he's a guy to me that can play 4 out of the 5 positions on the offensive line, and he's a stud and he's really solid. I'm giving him a B. I'm giving him a B for right now. I liked him. There were stretches where he struggled a little bit, but that entire team was dysfunctional. Probably one of the biggest disappointments of the entire year.
Yeah, he's a B minus for me, only because I had a higher thought opinion of him than obviously the league did because of where he was taken. So
Yeah,
he's probably, again, tackles are so hard, and this could be a B plus 3 years from now, or it could be a D plus 3 years from now. But generally, when you get a rookie player out there, and he doesn't look like he doesn't belong, he's going to be okay. So
yeah,
we see first round picks, they get out there and they don't belong, like our boy from the Raiders. That dude probably doesn't belong on an NFL football field. So
for sure. 28th overall, Miles Murphy. I'm giving this one a C plus. I was real high on Miles Murphy. I thought he built like an edge rusher. He had the bend of an edge rusher. He had the explosiveness of an edge rusher. And I had him going a lot higher. Like I had him going in spots of like Lucas Van Ness and Will McDonald like ranges. I wasn't having him going 28th to the Bengals. He didn't play too often, and when he did, he was okay. He was fine, but that's about it. That's all you can really say about him.
C minus to me.
Yeah.
I loved the pick for the Bengals. I loved the value where they got him. I thought he was a great player. I thought he fit a position of need for them, and it just was kind of underwhelming. But generally, that happens when you think you make the perfect pick at the perfect location at the perfect position, and then it's not, fireworks, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. 29th overall, his teammate Brian Brzee going to the Saints. This one's a C minus to me. Brian didn't play well. I had him ranked my DT1, and he just didn't perform very well on the Saints. That Saints team, that was another one of the biggest disappointments of the year. So C minus, he just wasn't very good to me. I could even move this down to a D plus type pick. He could have dropped even further.
I think for me, it's a D plus. I'm not exactly sure what position he plays. I'm not sure if he's a defensive tackle. I'm not sure if he's a defensive end. I'm not sure if he's just a situational run stopper.
That might be where he sits.
You bring that dude in on the goal line situations and stuff to try to plug it up. So, to have the questions about a player and how he fits on your team and the position he plays when you take him in the first round, to me, is not acceptable. So,
yeah, I would agree. And then next we have 30th overall to the Eagles, Nolan Smith. This is a D plus to me. He didn't get on the field very often. I had the same concern when he was coming out of college. He's too small. He's not built enough. He's too skinny to be an edge rusher. And again, he didn't play that often. I got to give him a D plus, and I'm not sure where it's another one of those guys. I'm not sure where his trajectory goes from here. I'm not sure where he goes, what he does. If he gets more built, he hits the weights this offseason, and then he could play more because the Eagles have some guys who are departing that allows him to play more. Right now, it's a D plus.
Yeah, I agree, because you look at him coming out and you wonder, where does he fit in? And now after a year of playing in the National Football League, you say to yourself, where does he fit in? So not great for a first round pick. And I don't know. The thing about the Eagles defense is it was so terrible this year that if you had just been decent, you would have stood out, and he wasn't even that.
Yeah.
So
31st overall, Felix Ozuma. Should I even try a new DK? Ozuma? There we go. See, I get points for trying, and that might be it right there.
Maybe he'll just be the next JOK. We won't even say Jeremiah. We'll just say JOK. He's just the next FAU. So.
FAU, you get a D plus. All right, so
he ain't the next JOK. Spoiler alert for everybody out there.
Yeah, he didn't play very often. I think dude had less than 10 tackles on the whole season. He may have had a sack. He didn't play very often on a good Chiefs defense. He just wasn't there. You can't say much more. You're not going to get playing time away from, a guy like George Karlaftis, or he wasn't really in the rotation. That was another big issue. He wasn't even in the rotation at all. So not impressed. D plus, he's in that kind of same place with Nolan Smith. You know where he's at. He's an edge rusher. That's what he is. But getting the playing time is going to be an issue for him. And I thought it was a weird pick. I didn't have him going in the first. I had him going like late second.
I honestly thought the Chiefs were going to take a tight end.
I think the Chiefs could take a tight end this next draft.
Well, but like this, when they made this pick, I thought.
Yeah, no, for sure.
With Musgrave and Laporta.
It's a deep tight end class.
The other guy who I thought was the number one tight end and wasn't even taken anywhere close to number one tight end territory. Yeah, I thought that's what they were going to go with. So the pick to me was weird, but turns out they should have taken wide receiver. So should have just traded up and took any of those guys except for Quentin Johnson. So we say that motherfuckers ain't in the Super Bowl. Oh, they fucked up the draft. Yeah, you're playing in Vegas in a week.
Yeah, right. And then last pick, 32nd pick, technically second round, first pick, but I threw him in there because why not? I wanted to talk about him. Joey Porter Jr. This is a B plus, could even be an A minus. Really good corner, really impressive, highly touted, very high on my draft board, and him going 32nd. I was, again, the fact that we didn't take him at 26, really disappointing because we see what the type of player he is. I like him. B plus, A minus. He's in that range to me.
Yeah, the Steelers situation this year was weird, and he played really well, and he showed out multiple times, and he had those type of plays that you see on TikTok and Instagram Reels, and you feel great about him being a stalwart at that position for the next couple of years. So to me, definitely. To get that type of value with this first pick of the second round, the 32nd pick in the draft, to me is that's an A minus to me, because
for sure.
I think the last 8 guys we talked about didn't even play. So to get a guy that you're just slotting in at starting quarter for the next couple of years, that's great drafting.
Dude, and look at that call back. Why did they have the 32nd pick? Chase Claypool. Let's go. Let's go. Trade Chase Claypool for Joey Porter Jr. essentially. I'd make that trade about 1.5 million times. But yeah.
Well, and then not only that dude gets moved again. So you already honestly, it didn't even matter if your pick turned out to be a scrub. Like, you made the right decision because he didn't even stick with his team, and then he didn't even play for the Dolphins. So
Oh man. All right. Well, that's all we got. Man, this has been our longest episode in a minute. I feel like everything's been under 2 hours pretty recently. So. All right, I hope everyone enjoyed the podcast. I know everybody in America is rooting against the Niners because we hate them and nobody wants them to win and nobody wants to see a parade in San Francisco. Or is it Santa Clara?
It would definitely be in Santa Clara because San Francisco is filled with nasty homeless people. So it'd be in Santa Clara.
All right, you guys. Appreciate you guys sticking around to the end. Peace.
Peace out.